And we are live.
It's true Islamophobia at its finest. It's true Islamophobia.
Look at that. All right. Well, Kufar Akbar, everybody, welcome to another edition of the Crescent discussion group. Thank you for coming and visiting this Sunday afternoon. The sun is shining here in Kafiristan today. It's a nice fall day, 70-ish, 5-ish weather, and everybody should and could be outside, but yet we're sitting here watching the show, and I appreciate you coming today. Today's topic is Islamic anti-Semitism. But before we get to that, there is some news that we need to be covering here. And I just want to give a little background about what all this involves. 2 weeks ago, we did a great show. We were talking about Israel's right to exist as a nation, the Jewish people, and why we think that God has established a covenant with them, and that their country came about as a result of what happened during the Holocaust. I mean, when you cut down to the chase, that is the reason why the nation, the world, finally came together and said, "Look, yeah, we need to allow the Jewish people to have a homeland to where they could flee when you have these anti-Semitic madmen such as Hitler going crazy on them." So once they established their homeland, they were attacked by 7 Muslim majority countries, and they've been going through all of this violence and anti-Semitic, how would you categorize anti-Semitic violence, I guess, ever since. It's been going on since for their entire existence. And then for some reason, some strange reason, our friend Isa, it's not that the strange reason he went on the Imam show. It's just kind of strange that the Imam immediately did a show trying to justify the violence against the Israeli people, against Israel itself, against the Jewish people. And so we critiqued that last week. I'm getting to it. Here comes the caboose, folks. It's a train of thought. Here comes the caboose. Well, after critiquing it, Isa gets a message from this lapdog of the Imam saying, not my words, by the way, that's a Muslim has called this person a lapdog, not me. That's not my words. I don't intentionally insult people. I'm just using the verbiage of another Muslim that described this individual as lapdog. This lapdog sends our brother Isa an ultimatum saying, send this to people to cross in the Crescent. And because if they do not take down all the videos that contain Kenny Bomer and Marsha Gregory, we're going to promote. He's going to send out a video to Facebook and boost it to, was it Los Angeles, Detroit, and someplace I can't remember. It doesn't matter. It's in the.
It was 3 cities. Yeah, it was 3 cities. Okay, what does that have to do with you? I don't know.
Well,
A
he was
Muslim
trying to. Okay,
organization.
in the video, he cuts and clips and takes out of context words that were said. It makes it sound like I'm promoting some type of hatred or I don't even know what he was trying to do. It's just stupid, is what it is. But consider the source. With that said, he says you have until, was it 5 o'clock on Friday or something?
72 hours. 72
Okay.
hours.
So we put a video up answering that, which was kiss it. All right. We're not.
Go Pound fan.
Yeah, we're not doing this. That's just the way it is. And then at the same time, I get a video emailed to me of the imam. And the imam evidently got filmed displaying some of his anger management issues. And this is the day before he's supposed to be doing a debate with David Wood, which we're going to cover that next week. There wasn't enough time to get to all that was said in the debate yesterday, but we're going to have a post-debate party next week. You can count on that. But I emailed the imam. I said, look, somebody just sent this to me. I hope it doesn't get to, somebody doesn't send it to Radical Moderate, because he'll definitely do something with it. So this is, but before we get there, I want to show this week's slide from the debate from yesterday. Why isn't this coming up? Add a stage. There we go. There we go. This is the slide that I made yesterday after I saw the debate, and it was pretty bad. And one of the guys in our chat, Brian, wants us to do a show that discusses all of the the post-debate bravado of the imam after he gets beat. I mean, it just you feel sorry for him. I mean, I literally felt sorry for him in some of the arguments that he was trying to make. And when I'm feeling sorry for you, when I disagree with everything you say, I'm feeling sorry for you. You need to go. I don't know. You just need to go do something else. All right, Rad. I told Rad that I was going to give him 15 minutes to go through what he has to say. So hold on. No. Don't do this. Don't do this. I have it right here.
This devil, Robert Wells. This devil, Robert Wells.
Thank you, Kenny, for that great introduction. Okay, well, first of all, I just want to give a shout out to our latest sponsor. We have a new sponsor now, the Camel Urine Company. Went bankrupt. We got even a better sponsor. It's Marshall, Kenny's lapdog, according to the Holder Guard. Thank you, Kenny. Kenny, I just want you to know. Okay. Well, hold on. We'll get to that in a second. But I want to give a shout out to that. But you're right, Eric. What a crazy week it's been, dude. You know what I mean? The ultimatum from Marshall. And then we get the Texas imam having a hangry incident over his fried chicken. He does like that fried chicken. Okay. And then, the debate, everything going down. But anyway, so I want to briefly address the new sponsor, Marshall. Just an FYI moving forward. Marshall, every show that we're going to do now, because you inspired us to do this, we're going to have a Kenny or Marshall clip, maybe just 30 seconds long. We got all kinds of sound effects. We got all kinds of sound clips. Okay, yes, please like and share. Okay, but seriously, I've been kind of very busy bee. Okay, cutting and edit out the greatest of Kenny and Marshall interaction. But that's all because of you. Now, Marshall, I want you to get this through what's left of your meth shriveled brain. You and your acolytes will never get Eric fired. Go ahead and return to your vomit. Waste your time and money. You can post and boost all the videos you want. You and Charles can make all the doxing videos, posting innocent people's pictures and contact numbers, slandering them, calling them white nationalists and white supremacists. You can do that all you want, dude. In case you haven't figured it out yet, everyone thinks you guys are a bunch of lunatics, which should be avoided. The only thing you and Charles are going to accomplish is get more cyber terror or cyber stalking charges. And if you guys do show up at a junior high school, They got your pictures, they got your names, they got your criminal backgrounds. It is not going to go the way you think it's going to go. Seriously. But now on to the segment. So the question of the day, the question of the week, actually, is the imam from Texas a racist? On Thursday, as Eric mentioned, a video was posted on social media of Kenny Bomer melting down over fried chicken and threatening in this video. Well, let's play the video. We're going to play the longer clip that was posted by a TikToker who has over 6 million subscribers. It's already been viewed like something like over 1 million times. Okay, let's play this.
Houston, Texas. A gentleman walks into a Randall's grocery store. He's waiting at, I think, like the deli counter for some service. There's another guy there already getting some service who becomes, as he puts it, rude and aggressive with the women working behind the counter. So this man, a black man, speaks up and says, "Hey, don't talk to them that way." And then that guy takes issue with it. And fortunately, someone else waiting there starts recording.
No. Another day for I'm talking to you guys. Another day too. I'm back there for not on top of another day too. I'm probably asking not to be sure. You don't know what cars are competition. What do I have to do before taking the belt off the pushing?
Oh.
He ended by saying, "Walk away before I take my belt off and whip you." And then he leaves. Guy finishes getting his stuff, and when he comes out, he's waiting for him. Started following me, saying more racial slurs out the window. He drove off. But he got his license plate, and the guy looks like he drives for Lyft. Now, normally this would be the part where I'd say, "Hey, Houston, who is this? Only this little cartoon bird showed up, and what's that?" "You know who it is." "Well, should we just skip ahead and tell everyone?" "Yeah, let's do that. And I assure you, this is going to be the least weird part of all this."
Assalamu alaikum. My name is Kenny Bomer. I'm the author of the book Consider Islam, Disproving the Patriots of Propaganda, and I'm the host of Consider This TV. And on behalf of all of the associates with Consider This TV, I'd like to remind you that Dawah is Deen, and we'd like to invite you to become a part of our team by making a donation.
Yeah, that's him as confirmed by the victim. And it's weird because of who Kenny claims to be, at least online, as well as what he claims to stand for. I'm sickened by the gross injustice routinely committed against people of color by other white men. Allah knows that I would have helped George Floyd if I had been there. You say stuff like that a lot and take pictures like this. But meanwhile, you have someone who looks like this just tell you not to be hateful toward women, and you threaten him in a way that sounds very white supremacy of you. And let me quickly make something clear. What happened in that store has nothing to do with Allah, has nothing to do with the Muslim faith. Those who follow the teachings of Muhammad are kind and generous people. No, I'd say it has more to do with the other side of yourself. The one that almost assaulted his ex-wife and then she shot at him, but just missed. A shame. And that other side seems to come out a lot. So despite what you teach, this video exists now. A video that shows you when you aren't putting on a face for the public. And we'll let that just speak for itself.
All right, so a couple things here quick. That's the way he acts online too, though. I mean, look at the way he treats lady.
Lady, go sit your behind down in the corner somewhere until we call your name. Lady, go sit your behind down in the corner somewhere until we call your name. Lady, go.
Okay, that's just one instance. We got more. Thank you again, Marshall. But let's go over the video in case you guys couldn't pick it up or you couldn't read the subtitles quick enough. All right, well, let me channel the black conservative perspective. All right, you seen that? You heard that. The camera comes on and starts filming the interaction. Okay? Kenny very angrily says to the stranger, this is how it starts, "No, stay out of another man's business." The man very calmly replies, do you know how calm that guy was? Did you see how just calm he was? He was totally relaxed and says, "Don't talk to a woman that way." Okay? You know,
Go sit
like
your
this,
behind
Kenny.
down in the corner somewhere until we call your name. Lady, go sit.
You know, that's very
Hey,
rude.
hey, Brad, Danny is in the audience. I'm wondering if Danny Davis has seen that clip. Danny, just go ahead and type it in chat if you've seen that clip. Go ahead, Brad. Sorry.
Did you just join? I mean, we can play it again.
No,
Or we
no,
can play a
that's
shorter
good.
one. Okay. Okay. So the man very calmly replies, "Don't talk to a woman that way." Okay. Kenny, then very threatening and menacing, closes in on this dude is a complete stranger, by the way, in a grocery store, and says, "I'll talk to you like that." Notice the words, "I'll talk to you like that." More on that later. It's very important. As the man looks around, Kenny says again, "Stay out of another man's business." The stranger calmly and politely says to Kenny, who is clearly the aggressor, "I'm going to ask you to back up." Kenny then realizes that his mouth might have just written a check that his girth and fat ass can't cash and says, "All right, I'll back up." The stranger then again politely and calmly says, "Don't talk to a woman like that." There is some unaudible banter that happens between the two. The stranger then grabs, now this is important, he grabs his
Hey, hold on
food.
just a second, man. Brad, hold on
Yeah.
just a second. Let me. I just
Don't
posted.
interrupt the radical when he's ready. I told you. I'm
I
mid
just
rant here,
posted.
dude.
I just posted the link to the video that was emailed to me in the chat. I just posted that. So if
No,
guys
you
want-
got to give the bigger one. The longer one's
No,
anyway.
no.
Okay.
This is that's the raw uncut without the commentary from that TikTok guy. That's
All
just
right.
the raw
All right.
uncut stuff.
All right.
Yeah. All right.
All
Well, I'm
right.
sorry.
First you censor me, then you interrupt me. Anyway, now I can't work under these conditions.
You're gonna have to renegotiate your contract, brother. That's
I'm
just
telling you, dude. Okay. So anyway, so there's some unaudible banter between the two. The stranger then grabs his food like a normal human being and proceeds to leave. And it's at this, well, now mind you, he's grabbing his food, so he's ordered food, right? Okay, this is key because I'm gonna read to you parts of Kenny's explanation as to what happened. So that's important. The guy grabs his food and he leaves like a normal human being. Okay? Kenny then says, "You don't know what transpired in the conversation. Go on about your business before I take my belt off and whoop you with it. I'm going to whoop you with my belt." First of all, Kenny, everybody's pointed this out to you. You're not wearing a frickin' belt. Secondly, seriously, who would sit there, and let a fat man struggle to take off his belt so he can be whipped by said belt? No. I mean, what is that going to be? Dude, you know what? He always says, you better hope I never meet you. Okay, so one fat man to another. You start taking off your belt to whoop me? I'm going to wait till you take it off and your pants fall down around your ankles, and I'm going to never mind. I mean, what is that going to be, like the quick draw? Which fat man can take his belt off quick enough? You know what I mean? And then we're struggling as our pants are down around our ankles. Seriously, that makes no sense, dude. But that's your condescending nature. You're talking to a grown man like he is a child. That's your dude. This is, and dude, you say that to everyone. You said it to Eric. You said it to me. You said it to Holdegard, and I believe you said it to David Wood, or maybe it was in your review debate of the second Aisha debate, where you said that that's what you'd like to do to David. I can't remember, but you definitely did. And if I'm wrong, I apologize. Anyway.
Well, he has these issues. If somebody is saying something, I would never in my adult life ever think of saying something like that to another adult. Ever.
Exactly.
I don't ever see a situation that I would put myself in that would require me to do that.
Right. Well, anyway, so that's where the video ends. I hope there's more video. I hope the dude recorded in a parking lot would have. We're gonna have to get in contact with him and find out. But anyway, the video ends there. So there you have it. Kenny threatening a black man, a total and complete stranger, to take off his belt and whip him like he's a massa of the chicken plantation. Now, on the surface, it seems bad. It really does. But like everything else, there is another side to the story. Kenny actually was kind enough, and thank you, Kenny, for forwarding me his response that he wrote to Modern Day Debate after the video came to light and went viral. Modern Day Debate was actually, the debate almost didn't happen. So I'm going to go over a few key points of Kenny's description of the events. So buckle up. It's going to be a wild ride through the mind of Kenny. He starts out with a paragraph, telling me about how I don't understand how he's going to get all these good deeds for all the slanders that have been said about him, all the bad things we said about him. Anyway, so I want to read you this. So this is my response. He says to this dude James, who runs Modern Day Debate. The video does not show everything that transpired, and there are also claims made in it that did not happen. Kenny says, I never said a rude word to that lady behind the counter. On the contrary, she was rude to me. I was actually very patient with her. I ordered a 16-piece mixed chicken only, and then she started to place the pieces in the bucket. However, she suddenly stopped and said,
Nothing for you.
Imagine you saying no chicken for you. Just, no, this is what he writes. However, she suddenly stopped and said, you can't get this. We don't have enough chicken. Now, Kenny, okay, you got to sit there and understand. Kenny's, I guess, a Lyft driver, and he's thinking about this chicken all day long. And he wants his chicken. He likes his chicken. It's midday, blood sugar's crashing, whatever, but he's got to get his 16-piece chicken. So he's sitting there watching him count the chicken. Whoa, 1 piece of chicken, 2 pieces of chicken, 3 pieces of chicken, 4 pieces of chicken. What? Ladies say I can't have chicken, but I want chicken. I cannot have chicken. Oh, chicken almost right there. I could eat the chicken. Anyway, Kenny continues on. So what do you mean? She said, we don't have enough pieces. So I responded and said, you have 3 full pans of chicken right there. I do not understand what you are saying to me. There is chicken. Then she said again, you can't get this. No soup for you. I told her that I don't understand what the problem is. And told her again, there are 3 full pans of chicken. And she just rolled my eyes like I said something wrong to her. Oh my God, Kenny's the victim. He's the oppressed. He's being oppressed. He's being robbed of his chicken. Because he wants his chicken. See, that would have been funnier with the fat bastard, I'm telling you.
Yeah, well, I couldn't do it. Sorry.
Okay. All right, he goes on. He says, ma'am, well, maybe that's your problem. Maybe misgendered. Maybe she wasn't a ma'am. I don't know. But wait, ma'am, I'm not trying to give you a hard time. I just don't understand what you were saying. Kenny cannot comprehend. This is the problem. He says it multiple times. He cannot comprehend what the problem is. To which she replied, okay, so then I asked, are there 4 breasts in that first pan? She said, yes. I said, okay, 4 breasts from the pan that are in that pan, that pan, you can take out of the other pan and give me all the dark meat pieces. So that's 4 big giant chicken breasts, and then 12? You're doing the math, real simple math. And 12 other than the dark meat.
Look at Nim's the screen.
Yeah, maybe you should go with the salad. Right. Okay, 4 breasts that up. So she snatched the bucket again and started putting the chicken in it. Whoa, now we're getting chicken. Now, here we go. Meanwhile, a black guy walked up at some point. Remember, the black guy is picking up his food. So he's been there. He's already ordered. Kenny is totally unaware of his surroundings. Kenny does not understand that the world, the universe, does not revolve around Kenny and his quest for 16 pieces of chicken in the middle of the frickin' day from a grocery store that has to serve other people. Okay, Kenny, let me explain to you something. Even if you were to go to KFC and order their big bucket of chicken, they would tell you got to wait for 20 minutes, 30 minutes, or you got to call ahead. You cannot do this. They actually know how much chicken they are going to sell by the day and by the hour. Clearly, you have never worked retail. Clearly, you have never worked in the food industry. That is common sense. They know. Now think about this. I'm sure they normally sell 2-piece chicken, right? So you just wiped out 8 customers. 8 customers would have to wait 20 to 30 minutes while they cooked up more chicken because you had to have your 16 chicken. You were so inconsiderate that you didn't that you couldn't call in and place your order ahead of time or wait 30 minutes. Okay? Seriously, very inconsiderate of you, very rude of you. Anyway, but you're totally unaware that there are people around you, totally unaware that there are other people waiting in line. Okay?
Doesn't he
I
at
said,
one time in that one point in that letter? Sorry for interrupting you, but doesn't he at one point in that email to James at Modern Day Debate claim that he thought he might have been being set up of some?
Yeah,
sort?
I'm going to get to that. I'm going to get to that.
All right, sorry.
Okay.
Never mind. Sorry.
Okay, a black guy walked up at some point. I don't know really when, because I wasn't paying attention to him until I heard him say, well, so he wasn't paying attention. He's clearly unaware of his surroundings. And he didn't know it until he heard the man say, what? Ma'am, you are doing a good job. That was it. The total stranger, did not address Kenny. He addressed the woman who was clearly flustered, who was clearly having a bad day, clearly aggravated by her irate customer that wanted his 16 pieces of chicken. Okay? And the dude was like, ma'am, just don't worry about it. You're doing a great job. He is being kind, Kenny. He is showing grace, Kenny. He is showing compassion, Kenny. But so what does that have to do with you, Kenny? Because here's where it goes. Ma'am, you are doing a great job, he said. Kenny, with an attitude like I was giving her a hard time. So I said, why are you saying it like that? Again, everything is about Kenny. He turns it on himself. He's the one being oppressed here. He's the one being assaulted. He's the one being insulted. To which he replied, you shouldn't speak to a lady like that. So I said, what do you mean? None of that's in the video. I haven't cussed her. I haven't insulted you. I've raised my... None of that's in the video. And we're not saying that you cursed at her. We're not saying that you raised your voice to her. But Kenny, you are very off-putting. Putting? Yeah. Seriously, you have this condescending, like, I'm going to take my belt off and whip you. No, you have this condescending nature. It's in your nature. It's in your tone. It's the way you carry yourself. I swear, Kenny, I've been in a room, and I am serious about this, with murderer, rapists, and thieves. I've been in some hardcore places, okay? And I have never met a big, strong, tough guy like you with fists of fury who is so thin-skinned as you, dude. You're like a chicken egg. Yeah, you got a hard shell, but it's easily breakable. I mean, you fracture easy. Your ego just, I mean, seriously, not everything is an insult about you. Not everything is about you, Kenny. Okay? Seriously, dude, you're gonna get in serious trouble over this, which I'll get to in a bit. So I said, what do you mean? I haven't I haven't said anything wrong to this lady. Again, Kenny's never wrong. He never does anything wrong. Okay? Then he looked me up and down. Well, he's looking around because this dude is situationally aware. Okay? He's not focused in on your little sphere of the moment. He's looking around, okay? Because he does have situational awareness. He is courteous to people. Okay, he's making sure there's not little kids around in case you jump froggy and get really bad and he has to lay you out. You know what I mean? He's making sure. Okay. So I asked, what you said? You need to stay out of another man's business. And that's when Kenny's walking up. Oh, listen to this slander. Listen to this again. Is Kenny a racist? Listen to this. I could smell alcohol on him, and his eyes were a bit red. Yeah, that's right, Kenny. Because, black people, they're all drunks and potheads. In the middle of the day, they're stoned and high. And that's the only reason the guy would actually be nice to a woman, is because he's drunk and stoned on pot. Right, Kenny? Seriously, man. Okay? All right? Looking behind me, I had no clue. Listen to this. I noticed him look behind me, but I had no clue there was some black ladies behind me who were, oh no, more black people. They're falling out of the ceiling. Where'd they come from? He's surrounded by black people. Oh my God, and they're drunk and they're stoned. And he's got to whip them with their belt, put them uppity ones in line. How dare he? Anyway. Okay, continue on. And he said again, okay, no clue, there were black ladies behind me who were obviously videoing what was happening. Yeah, dumbass. That white dude, ogre, wanting 16 pieces of chicken, freaking out, threatening a black dude with taking off his belt and whipping him. Yeah, that's going to be filmed. Hell, if I was there, I would have been filming that. I'd been like, oh, this is YouTube gold. Okay? Now, the accusation, man, I'm going to get to that right now, is that he was being set up. Dude, if you were, well, okay, what do you mean by set up? They saw you as the mark right away. Okay? Because clearly you are a fragile egg. You have this attitude. Now, maybe your blood sugar was lower. I mean, you're driving around the lift. You're thinking about this chicken all day long. You want the chicken. You know, you're dreaming of the chicken, and then you can't get the chicken. Your blood sugar's crashing. Okay, I can get that, dude. Okay, whatever. But either way, you're having a bad day. The other dude's not having a bad day. He got his food and he walked out the door, didn't he? Didn't he? Anyway, so I responded. Oh, listen to this. Okay. I could smell alcohol in his eyes were red. Black ladies behind me filming. Da, da, da. Then he said again, you shouldn't talk to a woman like that. So I responded, I will talk to you like that. What do you mean, Kenny? He's telling you shouldn't talk to a woman like that. And then you responded that you're going to talk to him like you're talking to the woman. So clearly, Kenny, you were giving this woman a hard time. Did you also tell the woman that you were going to take off your belt and whoop her too? Because that's the same thing that's happening here. So I stepped towards him a bit. No, you got in his grill, dude. I mean, you were, as he likes to say, he was going to bump bellies with me, but I wasn't having that. Anyway, I stepped toward him a bit and said again, you need to stay out of another man's business. Kenny, you're in a public grocery store. You're clearly having a meltdown. The people are waiting behind to get their chicken. You're freaking out over your chicken. Clearly, it's their business now. Your business has now become everybody's business in the grocery store. You know what I mean? Clean up on aisle 7 there, buddy. Anyway. So then I said to him, I will back up, but not because you are intimidating me. You didn't say that part. You just said, okay, I'll back up because you realize that your mouth just wrote a check your butt couldn't cash. Okay. You just need to stay out of another man's business. I kind of keep, okay. At that point, I think he got what he was waiting for. Yeah, Kenny, he was waiting for his food, and you're freaking out. So clearly, he had been there for a while. You just never noticed him because you have no situational awareness because you don't care about anybody other than yourself and your own lust for the chicken. So then, he's looking back and he stepped back. So I said to him, keep walking before I take my belt off and whoop you with it. And this is a very poor decision of choice of words. Yeah, but race had absolutely nothing to do about it. Well, yeah, except that, you accuse him of being a drunk and a pothead, and there were other black people all of a sudden around you filming, and they set you up. Yeah, nothing but race there. No, yeah, nothing about race. Okay, and I said, you need to stay out of another man's business. I was not happy about what happened, and I already started asking Allah for forgiveness for losing my patience. Blah, blah. He goes on, blah, blah, blah. It's all about me, da, da, da. When I got home, the first thing I did was pray for both the lady and the man. I asked Allah to forgive me. Well, if he did that, that's good, but I'm not seeing it. My comment wasn't meant to be racist at all. Yeah, but it was. But the video said I was insulting and threatening to whip the black man as if I'm a racist.
That's kind of the important part of it, isn't it?
Yeah.
I didn't mean to say something racist, but the fact is that you did. And that's the point. Placing yourself in an environment, in a situation where your feelings, whatever they are, could be misconstrued in that context is just absolutely unconscionable. How many people here in the panel or in the chat would ever say something like that to another human being? I'm going to take my belt off and whoop. Who would ever say something like that?
Not me.
Nobody.
I mean, not to an adult of any. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, especially if you're an adult man in your 50s, for God's sake, grow up at some point in your life, dude.
Now, I want to play a couple clips here of previous Kenny interactions.
Okay, we got to go fast. We got to go.
Okay. Hold on. Okay, here. This is one that was recording backstage of a live stream that he did, but he had. I forgot. I think it was. Well, I forgot who recorded it. But okay, here we go. Listen.
My wife beater? No. I was married 22 years. I wasn't beating up my wife. We had a very good relationship until.
But you did hit her, right? You did hit her?
Until the end there.
You did hit her. You did punch your wife in the face, you said, right?
No, I didn't punch her in the face. I didn't.
In the head.
Yeah, in the head. Yes, I did. Yes, I did.
Okay.
And,
All right. Okay.
But that doesn't.
But you're not a wife beater.
No,
But you're not a wife beater.
No, I'm not.
You never beat your wife. You never beat your wife.
No, I didn't. But I will beat
Okay.
you up.
All right.
I will beat you up, though. Yeah.
Okay, so you heard that. Okay, Kenny says he never beat his wife, but when confronted, did you punch your wife in the head? With the closed fist. And he says, yes, I did. But you never beat your wife. You know what I mean? Total state of total denial. He has never done anything wrong.
And that's the point, Brad. I mean that is a data point. You do not spend a year in jail,
right,
for not assaulting your wife. And this is where people, and David Wood said it best in the debate yesterday. He says, "Look, I've been in prison. Everybody lies to you in prison. Everybody lies to you." And then they lie to you so much. And this is the thing that my son would talk about, because he was working in prison as a guard for a number of years. He would tell you that they start believing their lies.
Exactly.
That I never did this, and it wasn't as bad as it's. And yes, it was. You wouldn't be in prison or in jail for those extended periods of time if it wasn't as bad as it is. Always somebody else's fault. All right, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Okay, no problem. So just wanted to point that out. And of course we have the interactions of him with Connie, telling her to shut up and sit down, go in the corner, and we got some other ones. But the bottom line is this. He goes on to say, as a matter of fact, okay, so he goes on to say, okay, I failed this, but I have no means of racist like they accuse me of. As a matter of fact, a good friend of mine who is black is a licensed security guard who does private security for subways in Houston area. Now, I'm not suggesting I'm a celebrity, of course, but I'm planning to have him to help ensure that there is no drama. I'm also going to contact the Missouri County Sheriff's Office to let them know I've been receiving death threats and threats from people online saying they're going to be at the debate to do me bodily harm. It could be all talk, but who knows? Wait.
Swine of the humankind. Swine of the humankind.
Yeah. Wait. Kenny, really quickly here. Are you telling me you've been doxxed for your bad attitude? As you like to say, the clip was taken out of context. You're not this or what it pretends you to be.
It's
are
true
you saying
Islamophobia at its finest.
Yeah. Okay. Stop playing stuff. Okay. All right. Are you saying all this stuff, Kenny? What did I do with that clip? Oh, I didn't upload it. I was gonna play Kenny, where he goes off on a rant and he's talking about how he's going to show up at your school, how the Muslims are coming, how blah blah, you know what I mean. But I can't find it. But that's fine. Okay,
It's
so
it's in one of the videos on the channel.
Right? Yeah, you guys can see
so
it.
if you want to see it, it's right there.
Yeah. No. He goes into great depths of how he's going to get Eric fired. They're going to show up with the Muslim crowd, the media, lawyers, and everything. They're going to go there to do business. And they're going to get it done. And Kenny Bomer, I love how he always talks about stuff in third person. Kenny Bomer don't even have to beat her. Kenny Bomer just be sitting in the back, watch it all happen, like all holding a cloak while they stone Stephen to death. But anyway, so he goes on to this. But again, Kenny. Here's the thing, and I'm gonna play two last clips. So I want to go over it, and this is something I'm serious about. I'm very concerned about this, Kenny. What the hell are you thinking? This is a total and complete stranger in a grocery store. The only thing he did was say to the woman, "Okay, you're doing a great job." You didn't have to respond to him. You didn't have to take it personal. You didn't have to take it like he was insulting you or attacking you or threatening you or oppressing you. Okay? No. You could have just said, like, you know what? That would have been the point for you to show grace, and you could have said, you know what? I agree with you. I am terribly sorry if I'm upsetting you. Okay, blah blah blah. But here's the thing, Kenny. Word of advice: the next time you get the chicken crave and you want 16 pieces of chicken, call ahead, dude. Call ahead and put in your order so you don't take other chicken from other people. Okay, you don't upset the people working behind the counter. But seriously, Kenny, I want you to take a look at this. This is what's happening in America right now. They destroyed a New York City restaurant over $1.25 in dipping sauce. A 16-year-old girl was just stabbed to death during a dispute over McDonald's sweet and sour sauce. Here we have a couple years ago in Berwyn, suburb outside of Chicago, man was fatally stabbed to death. Do you know why? Because a teenage girl approached her mother, a cashier, and asked her how much a bottle of water cost. The man accused the girl of cutting in line, started swearing to them, punched her in the face several times. A bystander, a guy that was standing in line, Guzman, tried to intervene. He was a good guy, at which point the suspect pulled a knife out of his pocket and stabbed the 32-year-old several times, killing him. He then, proceeded on the way out, stabbed another person who tried to stop him, stabbed him in the stomach. Kenny, what I'm saying to you, dude, is there are crazy people out there, especially after COVID. We've now gone all pretty much bat crap crazy. And Kenny, you have that attitude in public spaces, and you do that to people. And yes, you are physically intimidating. And I know you like to use that because you're basically a bully. But you're going to come to people where they're not, especially in Texas, you guys got open and concealed carry. Seriously, dude, just gonna be like, especially with this video out there. You know what I mean? It's like, look, dude, this dude has a pattern of this. Threatening and intimidating. I'm not going to take it. And then even if the guy's right or wrong or whatever, he will be perfectly justified in his own mind, as you are always justified. And there going to be no more Kenny. Okay? Over something stupid. Over chicken. Seriously, that you could have called ahead or you could have went to another place. Whatever. By the way, I don't think you should go to that grocery store anymore. I'm just saying. I wouldn't. That's totally embarrassing. But anyway, that concludes the radical right. Oh, one more thing, Kenny. I know you had a hard life. I know you got dealt a raw hand. I don't know, circumstances and all. But dude, you need to put all that pain that caused you to be so fragile, such a fragile egg, such a thing that the slightest thing breaks you. Okay? You need to repent and put that at the foot of the cross, dude. Mm-hmm. Bend the knee, take all that guilt away, all that shame, all that insecurities. Take that away and put that in the foot in the cross, man. And I sincerely mean that. Otherwise, Kenny, you're gonna die over chicken, dude. And that would suck. To die over chicken. And Kenny, here's the thing.
America's chickens are coming home to roost.
Okay. Thank you for that 20-minute overtime rant, Rad. We appreciate that. And the work
actually, I was right on time. I said it was going to be 30 minutes. I started at 4:11. So,
okay. Yeah, you did pretty good, and I appreciate that. One of the common themes that I've seen in all this when I got that video, I was kind of, of course, you're shocked to see something like that, was the fact that how emboldened people can be when they think that they can intimidate other people. And it was posted in chat. I'm not exactly sure who posted, but we were talking about bullies, and this is exactly what I've insisted during this entire time that I've had to encounter this guy, is that this is what he is. He's just a bully. If you do not provide him all kinds of adulations and agree with him, or you would dare to criticize somebody like this is what they do. They come after you, and they try to do all kinds of god awful things. And this is just a perfect example. Thank God somebody was there to show the world what kind of person this imam is. And I remember in that email he talks about you're going to owe me on the day of judgment, or somebody's going to owe me on the day of judgment. When we think of the day of judgment and compare the day of judgment in the Quran as opposed to the Bible, two completely different things, because it says that every knee will bow and every tongue will confess that Jesus Christ is the Lord. When he judges us, he's the one that's going to judge us, and he's not going to give you points based on your scorecard or what other people did to you or offenses that you may have perceived. You're going to be judged on what you did with what Christ did for you. That's what you're going to be judged on. And for a lot of us, we have a lot of not humility, the opposite of humility. We have a lot of hubris. We have a lot of, what's the word I'm looking for? Help me out here, somebody. Instead of having humility, we have a lot of, somebody help me out with It's hubris. What's another word for hubris? Where we have the arrogance. There we go.
I don't know.
Arrogance. We're
Arrogance.
arrogant.
Pride.
Pride. There we go. Pride. We have a lot of pride. We do not want to admit
ego.
Ego. That's another. Yeah. Thank you.
The only Kenny, the only thing that we are owed on the day of judgment is God's wrath.
That's exactly right. And
That's
there's
it.
only one thing.
I don't want to be owed nothing.
And there's only one thing to prevent us from receiving that wrath, and that is what Christ did for us. Christ paid the only price that is able to be paid for our sins. And
any good deeds?
Yeah, any good deeds and all that stuff. There's nothing we can do. And especially when we start thinking about other people owing you some type of justice. And that is just the most insane, theologically insane thing to say and to believe. And we pray, and this has always been our prayer, is that you would return to Christ. You would admit that you were wrong, and that you would accept what Christ did for you. And that's all we pray.
One thing really quickly here.
We're going to close this up.
One thing really quickly here, Kenny. You talking about being that you're going to get our good deeds or whatever. Okay, you want my filthy rags? Take all my filthy rags.
Yeah, really. Sure.
Add them to your own pile of filthy rags. Soiled, filthy, dirty.
Well, leading other people away from Christ. I mean, Paul tells us in Galatians chapter 1, verse 8, he tells us exactly what those people are to be. He says that they are to be accursed. If you are going to deny the one thing that Christ did for us was to die for our sins, and you deny it because some yammering 7th century crazy man said so, which he stole, by the way, because he stole that idea from the second great treatise of Seth, which was Nag Hammadi writing. It's a Gnostic, it's a known Gnostic writing, but yet, it's right there in the Quran. We got to believe it. All right, let's get to our topic. Let's get to our topic today, which is Islamic anti-Semitism. This topic came up. It was we thought of it last week when we were discussing some of the comments that were made on the show between Isa and Kenny and Marshall. And so I thought, well, let's go ahead and look at what these people actually say, what they actually think. And of course, I got to admit, everybody here has to know that I have never had, I very rarely do I have original thoughts, and this material is not originally mine. I am a good plagiarist. I'm a good copier per se. Let's make sure we say that right. I read a lot and read what other people say, and I'm able to apply it. So thank you, Dr. Bill Warner from the Political Center for Islamic, what do they call it? Islamic, Political Islam. There we go, Political Islam. And what he's done is he's gone through the Quran, the Sira, and the Hadith, and he has identified how much of that literature is dedicated to anti-Semitism. And when you look at the verses that are supposedly revealed when Muhammad was in Mecca, you got less than 1%. It's like 0.98%, a very small amount. But then he goes to Medina, and Medina, you see an explosion in the anti-Semitism, and mainly because of the 3 Jewish tribes that were there, supposedly, the Bani Kanuka, the Bani Qurayza, and the Bani Nadir. And within 3 years, all 3 of those tribes have been either expelled from the city or have been killed, and the women sold into slavery. So when you compare the trilogies of the Quran, the Sira, and the Hadith, about 9%, a little over 9% of those trilogies deal with are anti-Semitic in their nature. But when you deal with Mein Kampf, which is supposed to be the most modern anti-Semitic rant by Adolf Hitler, look what you only have 7% of that. So when you compare the Sira, which is the biography of Muhammad, which is at 12%, the Medina Quran, where he is in charge and has power now, at 17%, and you compare that to Hitler, and then we wonder why there is so much anti-Semitic behavior across the globe today. That's not a hard one to figure out.
Just a side note, Mein Kampf means my struggle. What is jihad? Mein struggle? So
right here. Yeah, thank you for bringing that up because it's often sold alongside, like retranslated my jihad in Arabic. Very good. Way to go. Yeah, and then when we look at Mein Kampf in the Islamic world, it becomes a bestseller when? Right around Eid, when everybody's given gifts at the end of Eid's the holiday at the end of Ramadan. Am I correct on that? Am I correct on
believe
that?
so. Yeah, I believe so. Yes.
I'm almost certain it is. But you give people gifts, and what do they give each other? Well, they give each other Mein Kampf, of course. Yeah,
because nothing says religious festival like getting a copy of Mein Kampf.
Right, exactly. Okay, so when we look at Jew hatred in the Quran, the Meccan, of course, you have 9 verses that mention it. It's about 960 words. And so I did the math, it's less than 1%, like 0.98%. But when you go to Medina, you have many more words that are of anti-Semitic in their nature. It comes 16.9 or 17%. And you have 114 verses, grand total words. And then you have, of course, 6%, over 6.5% of the Quran itself is anti-Semitic in nature. When you look at the Sira, there you have basically the same thing, but it's a little more often than what you have in the Quran. It's up to almost 12%. And when you look at 10% of the biography, Muhammad deals with hating Jews. Think about that. 10%. How would you like to have 10% of your biography? If somebody's going to write a biography about you, how would you like it if 10% of that biography was focused on your hatred for another group of people? That would be a huge testament to who you are. And I think that in of itself is a data point that you can never get out of your head. If you have 10% of my biography, if my biography had 10% of me hating another group, I would be ashamed, absolutely ashamed. But here you have an entire group of people that do not see a problem in it. Why? Because it's sunnah. And if it's sunnah, then it's okay to do. As a matter of fact, it's something that should be emulated. And that is the sad part about it. If your behavior is to be emulated, where you, with all you're doing is encouraging people to commit acts of violence and hate another people group, then maybe you need to do something different. Here you have I think I put this up last week when we were talking about, this is when we were talking about Jews' right to exist. I was looking for this slide. When you look at the amount of text dedicated to jihad, 67% of the Sira, the biography, is dedicated to jihad, and the Medina Quran, almost a quarter of it, is dedicated to it. So that's in of itself crazy. When we talked about the Crusades, here are the Crusades. When we played Bill Warner's battle map, when we look at the Crusades that occurred right here, but when we look at the number of attacks committed in the name of Islam over the next 1,400 years, I mean, look, it's all over the globe. So you want to compare this to this, you go on right ahead. Go right ahead. And when we start talking about persecution today, and you're going to notice in some of the, when we go through some of the Quranic verses and the Hadith, it isn't just anti-Semitic verses. He's also talking about the Jews and the Christians, or the Christians. He's also including the Christians in this group. So this is why, if you put on what people groups, and it is sad. Which country do they not have a problem with where they're not in a majority? I mean, that was the question somebody made a YouTube video about that a number of years ago. When you look at the Christians and the Buddhists, no problem. You look at the Jews and the Zoroastrians or whatever, no problem. When you look at the Muslims and the Buddhists, problem. Christians, Muslims, problem. Jews, Muslims, problem. And it's true. And it's because of the religious supremacist approach that we find embedded in a lot of their teachings. Quran 929, which we're going to discuss here in a minute. Oh, by the way. But when we look at the Christians across the globe, a lot of people don't realize this, but even the BBC, this is an article from the BBC here, says that Christians are the most persecuted religious group on the planet, and it's reached almost a genocidal level. And the whole goal is to have the exodus from these lands. If you look at the Christians in Palestine, less than 1.5% of the population there. And you look at Iraq, you had 1.5 million Christians in Iraq, and now it's down to 123,000 or 120,000. That is scary stuff. And who can forget this lady, Asha Bibi, where she was found not guilty by a Pakistani court for blasphemy, and that the whole country lost its mind and started rioting and killing each other over it because they wanted to kill this woman. So when we think of Christian persecution right now, and that's exactly right, Dominic. Great point here. And the BBC doesn't even care for Christians, but yet they admit that this is a true point. Okay. So the majority of what's coming next comes from Wiki Islam. If you have not gone over to Wiki Islam, or if you ever want to get some facts, it's set up kind of like Wikipedia, but and it's sourced like Wikipedia. So I wouldn't trust exactly what it says in the articles there. I would go, of course, to check the sources. And this is what you have to do with Wikipedia. Go ahead.
The woman who used to run that was from Pal Talk. She used to be my Pal Talk friends list. Actually, she was Wiki Islam, was the Pal Talk Nick.
Oh, really?
She was putting that together. During
maybe we want to get on someday.
No, it's dead. It's dead.
What, Pal Talk?
Oh yeah, Pal Talk's dead. Oh, I don't know. I haven't been on it in years, but last time I was, it was like totally dead.
Well,
actually, I should download it. Huh?
Maybe she's on Clubhouse or something.
Or I don't know, Discord. Everybody seemed to go to Discord, which I can't get into because it's overly complicated for me. But go ahead. Yeah.
Okay, so let's start looking at some of these verses. Of course, Quran 4:47, it says, "We curse the Sabbath breakers." Now, this is Allah. Allah's doing what? He's cursing the Sabbath breakers. Who are the Sabbath breakers? These are the Jews. You go to Quran 4:157. This is talking about the Jews right here, that they rejected faith, that they uttered against Mary a grave false charge, that they said and boast, "We killed Christ Jesus." Okay, number one, again, here, this is the denial of the crucifixion of Jesus Christ. And we know this is false. We know that this does not come from Allah. We know this is not true. Why? Because no Jew is going to call Jesus, the son of Mary, the Christ. If this is supposed to be the eternal word of God, this is a blatant, slam dunk, no questions barred error on behalf of Allah. Why? Because everybody knows the Jews did not believe that Jesus was the Messiah. However, if you have a 7th century caravan robber trying to put something together and passing it off as divine revelation, this is the type of error that you're going to make. But here again, this is a criticism, anti-Semitic rant against the Jews. 541, let's see, O messenger, let not those grieve thee who race each other into unbelief, whether it be among those who say we believe with their lips, but whose hearts have no faith, or it be among the Jews, men who will listen to any lie. For them there is disgrace in this world, and the hereafter a heavy punishment. So Allah is going to punish the Jews in hell. 551, oh, you believe, take not the Jews and Christians for your friends and protectors. They are but friends and protectors of each other. And he amongst you that turns to them for friendship is of them. So turning to a Christian or turning to a Jew is just as bad as being one, is what it's saying. And we all know what happens to those who associate partners with Allah. And that was a great point. I want to bring that up. If you all have not gone over, and go to it after this show, please. But if you have not watched that debate yesterday between David Wood and Kenny Bomer, he brought up a huge, and this is something that only the evil mind of David Wood would bring up, is he would go at it from a different, because if I was going to say, was Jesus a Jew or was Jesus a Muslim? The answer, of course, is no. And all you hear is equivocation from people like Kenny Bomer and stuff. Oh, well, what is a Muslim? Shut your mouth. Jesus was not a Muslim. He was a Torah observant Jew. I would ask him, tell me what a Jew is. But David went a different angle, so I would advise you to go over there and see what he did to that poor imam. And yes, Brian, I agree. Maybe we should just go ahead and do. We're going to do a critique of it next week. So hang on to your hats. All right. Strongest among men and enmities to the believers wilt thou find the Jews and the pagans. So even the pagans have the same amount of enmity towards believers who are supposed to be Muslims. So here again, anti-Semitic rant. 9:30, of course, and the Jews say Ezra is the son of Allah, and the Christians say the Messiah is the son of Allah. Now, I am curious. I would really like to hear, and we had, as a matter of fact, we did have the Imam on one day, and we asked him because he insisted that the Jews believe that Ezra is the son of Allah. In the same sense, look at here, it says, in the same sense that the Christians say that the Messiah, who is Jesus, is the son of Allah. I'm still looking for that Jewish group that believes that Ezra is the son of Allah in the same sense that the Christians believe that the Messiah, or Jesus, is the son of Allah. If you cannot provide this, then the Quran is absolutely, obviously, 100% in error here. And if it's eternal, then Allah is in error, and if Allah is error, he is not God. And we all know that he's not God anyway, because this is just a fabrication of some 7th century caravan robber. But look at it says, they imitate, saying those who disbelieve of old Allah himself fighteth against them. Look at it, we got to fight against who? Well, we got to fight against the Jews and the Christians. So here you have anti-Semitic charges for people to go fight the people of the book. 265. Here we go. And you know well amongst you the children of Israel. Look at here. Be ye apes, despised and rejected. Now we're going to come back to this. This is a common theme. We're going to find this all over the Hadith literature, where they are actually teaching their children that the Jews have been turned into apes and pigs.
That sounds a little bit racist.
Well, you can call it, it's anti-Semitic, is what it is. That's the bottom.
Well, yes, speciesist, because it's not really a racial; it's more of a species issue.
A species.
Hey, Steve's here.
A different species as far as what, like a human being? Is that what you're saying?
Speciation, yeah.
Become apes and monkeys and stuff, but that was a bad joke. So,
well, I didn't know if maybe Muhammad was the precursor to Charles Darwin. I mean, think about it. I mean, this is
You know what? They both started their, were visited or whatever, got their inspiration when they turned 40 years old. So Muhammad started his prophetic career when he was 40, and Darwin started his prophetic career when he was 40. So it's kind of like there's a connection.
He's in a pod, yeah. Yeah, I know a lot about Darwin, and the reason why I know a lot about Darwin is because I actually believe the Bible, Rad, when it teaches about how old the Earth is, and that I know that evolution never occurred.
I believe the Bible too, but I don't believe in evolution. Absolutely not. But I believe the Bible when it says that a day to the Lord can be eons. That's all I'm saying. And I can go either way. I don't care.
Okay,
but either way,
Islamophobia at its finest. It's true Islamophobia at its finest.
There you go.
All right, stop. Let's go.
Wait, I just want to say, Steve, marriage has done wonders for you, Steve. Oh, he locked away because I was in compliment.
No, I'm here. I got my Jibril card. So no Jibril.
He's got a dog now.
Black
he's not
dog,
wearing the
no.
trucker baseball. He's not wearing the baseball, trucker hat. He's got a dog. He's got a collared shirt on. Look at what marriage has done. It's a beautiful thing. You know what I mean? Oh, congratulations, love you. Okay, but let's continue on. I just had to point that out. It's a beautiful thing.
I just wondered why he has a black dog in his house.
It's to keep Jibril out, man. This is a Jibril card.
It's a Jibril card.
Hey, Eric.
Okay.
Eric.
Yes.
I want to say one thing about the Ezra thing, that in the Arabic, when it says about, Ezra is the son of God, the word for Ezra in Arabic is Azra. Yeah, because it's in the Bible, Azra.
Right.
And it's not Uzair. But in the Arabic, in the Quran, when it says Uzair. And there are some people who say that Uzair is actually Osiris, one of the Egyptian gods. And they're saying kind of like the Jews held on to the belief in Osiris. So anyway, that's just kind of a bit of trivia about, anyway.
From before the Exodus, are you saying the time before the Exodus where they were in Egypt, they took on beliefs of the Egyptians themselves?
Yes, that's what some people say, just because there is a name for Ezra in Arabic, Azra. And this verse does not use that name. It does not use the name Ezra. It uses a name that really doesn't exist. It's Uzair, just kind of made up, which is, Muhammad probably heard the Jews talking about it, and then
Which is completely consistent with what we would expect to find in the Quran. Errors everywhere.
Yeah.
Okay, let's go to 265. We already did that. 564. Allah's hand is tied up. Be their hands tied up. And they accuse for blasphemy. They utter amongst them, we have placed enmity and hatred till the day of judgment. So they have this hatred towards Jews until the end of the world. That's anti-Semitic. 2120. Never will the Jews.
Is that the two right hands that are outstretched, or?
No, both his hands are widely outstretched. I don't know if we came in there with too kinky. I don't know. I'd be a little spooky, but you might be right, Darce. Who knows?
Hey, can I tell you one thing Father Zechariah said about this verse? About the hands, where it says his hands are tied, and it's the Jews saying, "Is Allah's hands tied?" That the one who gave Muhammad the Quran, according to, if you look in the Hadith, is a Christian guy who went back to Christianity, and the belief is from Father Zechariah that was the monk Buhaira. And the monk Buhaira, at the end of his life, he repented and he went back. He was a heretic, but he went back to being an Assyrian believer at the end of his life, after he had already given Muhammad, and raised up Muhammad to be the so-called prophet. But when he went back, there was another monk who interviewed Buhaira, and there was a scroll that he wrote they found it like in a monastery in Turkey. And this other monk spent 7 days with Buhaira. And Buhaira said that he gave Muhammad certain verses. And he said specifically this verse right here. And that this verse was actually a reference to when Jesus was on the cross, and said his hands were, because in Arabic, it doesn't really say tied up. It was his hands are bound. And that he can't save himself, So anyway, that just something.
Do they have the manuscript for this, or you don't know?
You know what they did? They actually, there's a guy who did a master's thesis at Birmingham University about Buhaira. Okay, and
how do you spell that?
Buhaira is Bohara. There's a lot of stuff about him on the internet. Father Zechariah believes that Buhaira is the father of Muhammad. Okay, either that or, Muhammad's mother was pregnant for 4 years, because her husband died 4 years before Muhammad was born.
And you don't believe that? Come on, what's wrong with you?
No,
Dad, hold on, Dad, where are you? Where are you on this when we need to? Hold on.
It's true Islamophobia at its finest. It's true Islamophobia at its finest.
We got to be quicker.
Kenny clips. Yeah, you're true. But no, that's dude. Of course, that's a miracle of Islam. Carrying the woman for or carrying the child for 4 days, because let's go to the imam here. Oh, do we even have it? Oh, we didn't upload it.
You better stay away from that clip. Do not.
I'm not gonna play it,
Okay.
but I will.
All
I'm
right.
gonna make my own. I'm gonna make my own cut of this.
You make your own. You can make your own clip, but do not be playing that on the Crossing the Crescent discussion.
All right, I'm gonna have to upload the. I'm gonna have to.
I've had
upload
to censor. I can tell you right now. I don't know if we were said that. I've had to censor Rad, and I'm sorry to have
He
to be the one that
censored
take away your First Amendment rights of freedom of expression. But he had that Austin Powers guy, big fat bastard, eating chicken while the guy's naked. Now, if you cannot handle it, don't look it up on the internet, guys, because you'll be grossed out.
Hey, Eric.
Hey, Connie, how are you?
Hey, I'm well, thank you, sir, and bless you all.
Connie, I just want to say something. I've gone in and looked at my analytics of my YouTube videos, and the most viewed portion of my YouTube videos lasts for about 1 minute and 45 seconds, and they're always at the beginning of the show.
We're seeing that video, huh?
I'm just saying that intro video. People, I think they come to the show just to watch the intro video.
Hey, I got the quote from Steve a couple of months back, and I sent you the picture of what Bruhera had said. I sent it to you in your Facebook Messenger just now.
Okay. All right.
And it says what he says. I mean, he pretty much repented from his words, what he had told Muhammad.
This was a Catholic priest, a monk, or what?
Syrian. He was a Syrian, very well known, and he's used by the Muslims. He's very, very highly regarded because they see him as Christianity passing the baton to Islam. You know, that Christianity is blessing Islam because he came out and said Muhammad is the prophet. He's got the mole on his back. He discovered the holy mole on Muhammad's back.
Holy moly.
Yeah. A holy mole? I love that.
Don't be making fun of stuff you don't understand.
I'm sorry.
Can you show that picture, Eric?
True Islamophobia at its finest. It's true Islamophobia at its finest.
That's never going to get old.
Yeah,
anyway,
okay.
But,
So
but
let me
no,
go on.
dude, just think about this. Okay, I was just thinking about the debate with David and Kenny last week, or yesterday actually, and he's talking about logic and reason. Yeah, dude, the holy mole. Yeah, that logic and reason right there, dude. Sign me up. I'm gonna take my shot right now.
Yeah, it makes all the sense in the world. Let me put this up. Where is it? There we go. Bada bing. Bada boom. Look at there. And
yeah, I sinning. Make sure you read the word I.
Okay, I sinning an ugly sin, and I have no forgiveness afterwards. As if I start. Oops, what are we doing here? Issa's back in the house. As if I started him on an ugly path, and I followed my desire and did what made me happy to him, which would be Muhammad. And I did what my wicked soul helped me to do, and put myself in a fire whose flames would not be quenched by evil. And I made falsehood true and sent against the sheep of Christ wolves, snakes, and carnivores. Ouch.
Yeah, that's his own quote.
Ouch.
That's his confession. Yep.
That is some pretty nasty stuff. Yeah, I'm going to have to pull that up and take a look at that. And the reason why is because, hold on, God, I'm trying to do two things here. I'm trying to talk and there we go. Is that coming up? Boom. Okay, I'm trying to talk and do. I'm not good at that. Yeah, I mean, because when we start looking at the origins of Islam, and this is one of the things that I'm kind of moving my focus to, is I could care less if you want to sit here and debate the theology of Islam, because I can't engage in that type of conversation with people, and the reason why is because I don't believe for a second it's true. And then what you have to do in order to do that, you actually have to give some type of credibility to the Quran, and I just can't get there. I mean, I'm sorry. Knowing what I know about the Quran, knowing what's in it, knowing all the plagiarisms in there, I'm sorry. You cannot talk to me coherently or carry on an argument with me about that. And the second thing is the history behind the entire faith system. It's a black hole. There's nothing there, folks. When I say that there's no extra Islamic evidence for Mecca in the 7th century, that's exactly there is nothing there. When I say that there is no mention, when we start talking about the Rashidun time period, the first 3-4 rightly guided caliphs, nobody outside of Islam mentioned these people. So why would you even want to begin to have some type of conversation, a theological conversation about the Quran teaches it. No, who cares? If the whole thing is based on a house of cards, who cares? All right, sorry. All right, I'm gonna.
Well, wait. I want to comment really quickly on the whole on the miracle of Muhammad being carried around for 4 years in his
This
mother's
devil,
womb.
Robert Wells.
Sorry, but yeah, I just want to. Well, let's go to another word.
You just said that semen can't live for more than 7 days.
Mhm.
But brother, each and every person on this earth, I'll be 47 years old in just a few weeks. And guess what? I used to be sperm myself. You used to be sperm. Don't tell me that sperm can't live in the womb of a woman more than 7 days.
Yeah, that's see, it's a miracle. He's a 47-year-old walking sperm. Okay,
I forgot to do this.
Embryology is funny.
I forgot to do this to Connie when she came.
Lady, go
in.
sit your behind down in the corner somewhere until we call your name. Lady, go sit your behind down in the corner somewhere until we call your name.
We need to find somebody else to pick on this. That's just low hanging fruit. Okay, let's get back to what we were doing. All right, so anti-Semitism in the Quran. We did this one. 2:120. Now, never will the Jews or the Christians be satisfied with thee unless they follow their own form of religion. So here again, Allah is speaking out against the Jews, and who else? And the Christians. 3:110. You are the best of people, evolved for mankind, enjoying what is right, forbidding what is wrong.
Evolved.
Yeah.
So Allah is making evolved people, huh? Wow.
A little bit, yep. Well, again, Steve pointed out that Charlie Darwin and Muhammad both have a lot in common. If only the people of the book had faith. People of the book being Jews and the Christians, the book being the Torah and the Injil. Among them are some who have faith, but most of them are perverted transgressors. 929, we all know 929. You have to pay the tribute. This is making you a dhimmi, and I'm not going to bother with that one. And then we get into the Sunnah, where we look at Bukhari. When the last moment of life of Allah's apostle came, he started putting his kamisha on his face, and when he felt hot and short of breath, he took it off his face and said, "This is a man's dying breath, folks. May Allah curse the Jews and Christians, for they built the places of worship at the graves of the prophet." Okay, so a couple things that are completely off here. In your dying breath, what would you say? In your dying breath, the last things you said, what would you want to say?
God forgive me. Have mercy on me.
I would hope I would be crying out to God also. I hope that I would be trying to say something profound to the Queen of Kafiristan, or my children, or my grandchildren. Please remember me, that my love for, I would do, but no, here's what we get. May Allah curse the Jews and the Christians, for they burnt places of worship at the graves of their prophets. And this is the second thing that becomes very problematic here. And I don't know if you guys are aware of this. What is this? What is that?
That's Hebron. That's Hebron.
No. That's
No, that's Medina. That's Medina.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Okay. So what are they doing? What did he say? Places of worship at the graves of their prophets. Oh, well, what do? Well, let's go ahead and do it ourselves. Look at there. We got Muhammad.
Eric, you're not really being fair, because when Muhammad said that, he was talking about people in the past who had done that.
Oh.
And it hadn't been built for him yet. So he wasn't talking about people who would do it in the future. He was talking about people in the past who did that.
And like that matters. Yeah.
Yeah, of course, because Christ said, "Come all ye unto me who are heavy, weary and heavy laden, and I'll give you rest." So here comes 600 years after Muhammad saying, that Allah curses them. When Christ came and blessed, he died for our sins. So, that goes against everything.
Wait, I just thought of
listen
something.
to David Wood when he makes his videos. He every now and then he comes up with these offhanded ideas of what to do a video. If you go ahead and do this to Hatun Tash, I'm going to start making videos, and I'm going to rip your prophet to pieces. So leave her alone, okay? I'm going to send him this idea. Why not? And this is evil. I was thinking about this yesterday when I was putting this together. Why not do a video about some archaeologist going to Medina and excavating the grave of Muhammad? And then when you open it up,
it's the Omen. It's like they're like in the first Omen where they dig up the grave of the child, and there's two Great Danes or pit bulls or whatever.
Right. Yeah. Well, I would think that there'd be. I mean, and this is just the evil that you think, but you think that why not have you open it up and there's a pig in the casket or something like that. And this this is something that David would. This is the way he thinks. I've listened to some of the things that he thinks about. This is exactly the type of thing that he would come up with.
Here's the thing. I was actually thinking this. So I did not know that they had a shrine over his grave. I just thought they knew kind of where it was at.
This is This is the second most important place for.
Really?
Oh yeah, the Kaaba is number one. This is second, and then the
Jerusalem is number 3.
Yeah. The Dome of the Rock is number 3.
I knew that they had kind of like an idea, but not the actual. They didn't put a shrine over it. Here's kind of the thing.
No, they built an entire mosque complex on it. It's bigger than the Temple Mount, for crying out loud.
I honestly didn't know this, but maybe because I listen to Salafis too much. But anyway, but no, I was actually Salafis are really against that. But no, I was thinking about this. Okay, just now. Yeah, do an archaeological dig. I wonder what you would find. You would find, okay, a naturally mummified body, possibly, or just bones. Where we go to Christ's tomb, what do we find? Nothing. Because the tomb is empty. The tomb is empty. Their dead prophet is either mummified, okay, naturally because of the drought. Actually, no, because isn't Medina also in a floodplain? Okay. So yeah, that corpse has probably already been rotted because they didn't do any preparation to it. They just buried it. Yeah, no, the bones are probably.
Well, there are hadiths. My understanding is that there are hadiths.
My question
is going to come back.
I have a question. How do we know that those bones are Muhammad's? If we hadn't noticed them,
that's a great point, Darcy. Because we don't. There's no way to prove it. I mean, this is where you have a historical narrative being redacted back upon archaeology. And when we talk about the Meccan archaeology, it's non-existent. I sit there and I showed you pictures of where they've dug down for these skyscrapers and they didn't find anything. There's nothing there. And so when you're trying to redact information back on it, you're going to have errors like this. And if you go into Medina, that's a great idea. Let's go into Medina and let's go ahead and prove this is Muhammad. Go ahead.
Well, here's another thing on the archaeological thing. Okay, not to confront, not to rebuke my heretic friend here, Eric. But no, have you listened? There's a couple sites out in Turkey. It's called Gobekli Tepe, and there's a couple other ones that are even older. Gobekli Tepe in Turkish evidently means just Potbelly Hill. Well, they found this thing. They've been excavating for the past 20, 30 years, and it is one of the oldest sites. It goes back to like 10,000 years. I mean, this thing is old. It is ancient. Well, they are proving it, but no, okay, no. This is pre-pottery. There's no pottery. This is pre-everything. Flint tools. Okay, but it is constantly inhabited up until about 7,000 BC. But that's beside the point. But here's the thing: what you just said, where they dig down. No, this is layer upon layer upon layer. Each layer, when they dig down, it's like kind of a new settlement. It's it's been preoccupied. They destroyed the previous level, leveled it out. You know what I mean? Okay, just like if your house burns down, you bury it and then you build on top of it. Do you see what I'm saying? I mean, everything is pre-built on the next layer. So when they dig down, they can dig down through history in these old settlements, in these old sites, and then go by layer and say, okay, yeah, here we have Roman times.
Here we have their tells is what they're.
That's what it is. The tells, and they go through, and then all of a sudden they reach the bedrock, and like there's nothing more to go on. But when There is nothing there, dude. For Mecca, I am sorry, Muslims. I hate to break it to you, but Mecca did not exist.
Well, and here's what the problem that you run into is, I mean, you bring them this evidence, you show them even when you show them pictures, you know, and say there's no archaeological evidence there. If there is, where is it? Where has it been cited? Which journal can I find this in? And they absolutely refuse. They absolutely refuse to engage you on it, and then they call you Islamophobe. This Islamophobia. That's the only way that they can argue it. When you start talking about science, hard science, this is where it just completely unravels for them. And this is, you know, and this is what I was just telling Steve, you know, why even bother? Why even bother trying to carry on some type of theological discussion with them when their premise is that, well, the God of the Quran is the same God of the Bible. And when you read the two different texts together side by side to make a comparison of them, there's no way in Hades that that's true. But yet that is where most people try to engage them. And that's, I'm sorry. I'm not going to do it anymore. And here's another reason why right here. The night that Muhammad takes his little pony ride, Stephen has a song about this.
And by the way, that was David Wood's idea. I was on his program and he said, "Hey, what about instead of magic carpet ride, little magic donkey ride?"
There you go.
And I did the song, and David never heard it, man, but I have it. So
play it now. We got a clip. You send it. We can upload it as a clip. Dude.
Yeah.
I'll try.
All right.
But you need to change the slide. Okay, it's not pony. It's the Baraka Bull. Okay.
Whatever.
It's yeah. Okay. I mean, you got to be authentic.
Okay. This when we start thinking about the Arabian Nights and all these legends and things like that. This is exactly what you get. This is where it comes
Eric,
from.
They have proof
the Baraka is nothing more than a Pegasus. This is just folklore.
But they have proof. Eric, wait, they have proof that this really happened. You know how? Because when this mighty winged creature was flying back, okay, through the desert, I am not making this up. A camel dropped dead in the desert. Shocking. A camel dropped dead in the desert, and that's proof because it heard the mighty roar of the Baraka and it scared it to death. And evidently that's proof that Muhammad was really riding
again, and this is the same type of proof that we have from Mecca.
It's amazing they didn't take that camel and enshrine it as another idol that they have. But my question, my question is also, why is Allah taking some of Jesus's words? About the tombs that the scribes and Pharisees. What do you make the tombs of the prophets?
Oh, right. Yeah.
Right.
Matthew 22 stuff. Sure.
Right. So why is Allah, pretending that he's Jesus, taking some of Jesus's words?
Because this is what false prophets and imposters do and liars do. They pervert the word of God and try to claim that it's somehow from God.
And Allah's making himself to be Jesus, who is God. So you can put two and two together, knowing that whoever wrote this book knew that Jesus was God.
Well,
though they misconstrue the words. Yeah.
The Islamic Allah is not our God, because God loves the sinners. I mean, all people.
Right.
But this Allah, he does not like sinners, which means humans.
Yeah,
exactly.
God does not love a whole laundry list of people, but the only ones that he does love as well, those are Muslims. Well, boy, that makes all the sense in the world.
Yeah, flattery.
What happened here? Who did this? Did you just do this, Brad?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Sorry, everybody.
How did you get control of this? How did you get
Eric? Eric made me an admin. I talked him into it. He's going to regret it. Just saying.
Oh, I thought you were doing it just so you could upload video. I didn't know you could do it actually live.
Yeah, I can do all kinds of stuff. I have total complete control. I am in control. I am in control. I am in control.
I did not know this. Wow. Okay. Well, what's the next level down from admin?
There is no down. Oh, that's what I'm gonna put you. I'm gonna put you at the next level down.
He'll never tell you, Eric. He'll never
lock
tell
me out of
you.
my own. Lock me out of my own stream.
Eric is now going to the next level down since he censored me.
Exactly. Come on,
Okay,
Eric.
Connie,
Come on.
No, Connie, if you would have
Yeah.
seen what he wanted to put up, you would have censored him too. I promise you.
Hey,
You would have
I'm
censored
so
him.
That's
sorry.
all rad.
I wasn't able to engage earlier. I was closing down my business that I had to deal with today.
Oh, so you got a live pizza? What are you doing? Bragging on it or what?
No, it's so hard. That's why I couldn't. I heard Rad talking a little bit, but I couldn't really engage because I was closing down everything. So I wanted to engage the first point, if that's okay. I'm sorry, I don't want to distract from what you're talking about. But it was shocking because I saw the debate. I don't know if everyone saw the modern day debates. It was a very interesting experience, you know.
Yeah, it was. And did you see my slide for it? I don't.
I missed that. Could you bring up the slide again? I'm going
to bring up my slide after. This is, you know.
I really apologize. I do not mean to disrupt the program. So
let me see here. Okay, here's the slide that I have for it.
Oh, good.
Yeah, and that's yeah. That's a can of whoop ass if you can't tell what that is.
I get it.
Yeah.
He said one thing. This is the position where I think Kenny lost. It's one really intense argument. It's a bad argument that I keep seeing circulate. Now, the argument is Jesus a Muslim? Now, if a Muslim wants to argue, is Jesus a mu'min, meaning is Jesus a believer, fine, you can make that argument. But if you're trying to argue, is Jesus a Muslim, there's the 5 pillars of Islam, which is the shahada, which is the salat, the zakat, the sound, the fasting, and going on pilgrimage. You can't argue that Hebrew prophets fit the arkan al-Islam. You can't fit any of these people, the Israelites, into this narrative. It doesn't work. So it's like this weird thing, and I think Matt Dillahunty made a very good argument. Matt Dillahunty asked Kenny, where he said, so who do you think are Muslims? Do you think David Wood is a Muslim? Well, according to the definition, if a Muslim is a believer, then David Wood is a Muslim. That's just what it is. All Christians are Muslims according to that standard.
Right.
That's just how it works. So I'm like, how can you make this argument and say, well, all the prophets are Muslim, but then Christians now are not Muslim? No, you can't have your cake and eat it too. Either they're all Muslim, you take a very, very open definition to Islam, or you take a constrained definition to Islam. You can't have both. So I think that really hurt Kenny in the debate.
Well, I'm going to share a little bit of piece of information for you or to you. The evening before the debate, it was Friday evening, and whether he read my email or not, I'm sure he would deny. And what I was lamenting to him, I was just telling him, look what your buddy Marshall's doing. He's, trying to, get the channel taken down, or he's trying to get me fired from my job as a school teacher or whatever. Are you approving of all this? And then he emailed something back, and I said, look, dude, we all know what's going to happen tomorrow. It's called equivocation. This is exactly what we know you're going to equivocate on what the term Muslim is. And did you listen to his opening remarks? He spent a good time trying to defend himself against equivocation, knowing that this charge was going to come. Now, I'm sure he'll claim, well, I had my remarks written, weeks ago, blah, 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 whatever. We know exactly what your play is here. Equivocate on what the meaning of Muslim is. It's a bait and switch tactic that people that are sophomores in college think that's cute that you can do. But when you get down to the brass tacks of it, when you get down to the scholarship, when you start making these arguments and being consistent in the argumentation, isn't what he said? Oh, you have the consistency defines the terms of the argument. Yeah, exactly right. And if you were going to say, forget the fact that nobody has ever said that Jesus was anything other than a Second Temple Torah observant Jew. Nobody's ever made a claim that he was even Marshall on his in his live stream with you when you were on there. He goes, well, all you have to do is just ask him, what was it? Jesus a Christian? Well, why are there Christians if Jesus? Just shut up, you moron. And this is the type of intellect that you deal, and the type of argumentation that you get from these people is equivocation, which is, I would add, oh, by the way, dishonest, means that you're lying. You're given one definition for one term, and then you're trying to make an application the second time or in another way. And it's dishonest as the day is long. And that's the only way that they can win the argument. And why he engaged in this argument to begin with, I have no idea. It's kind of like saying, well, Aisha wasn't 9 years old when Muhammad raped her. Really? What, man?
Well, that's kind of the thing. Well, just to come in with what Issa said, Matt Delahanty's question, okay, was spot on. I wish they would allow more time to develop it and allow David Wood to respond. It was kind of weird because they ended it on Matt's question. It was like there was nobody there, okay, other than Matt or the debaters. But either way, no. So no, but what Kenny definitely demonstrated is, yes, I am focusing on this literal interpretation, but only for this specific, only for Jesus, only for this specific term. It does not apply to anybody else, right? Only for this, okay? So in other words, he's limiting his own interpretation to only a limited specific time. He's not applying it what he considered the consistency of the man shows, or the consistency of the argument, shows the consistency of the matter, or whatever. He's not being consistent. And I think David Wood, when he brought up, and he said, okay, fine, if you want to go this route, then Muhammad was a Buddha.
You got to pay the toll. You got to pay the toll.
You got to pay the toll. You got to pay the toll. I'm glad to go down this ride with you, down any road you want to take me, but, you're going to pay the toll. But when David Wood actually said in the opening, where I think it was the opening, where he said, okay, then fine. Muhammad's a Buddha, because Buddha just means enlightened one, right? Is it Muhammad an enlightened one? So he's a Buddha.
That's a valid argument, and that's the issue. And I think this is the big problem that I had. I'm like, if you're going to make this position, then it's like it just becomes nothing. Then your definition means nothing. It's just like everything and anything can fit your definition. And then when you choose to at any moment, you can change it to make it become limiting. And I think that's deeply problematic and disingenuous of a debater. And I've noticed that people do this, unfortunately, in the Muslim community. They will say, hey, all of them are Muslim. And I said, well, not even the text says that. You could say it's like they're a Hanif. Abraham is a Hanif, but you can't say he's a Muslim according to the definition of what a Muslim means. And then they said, well, a Muslim means to submit. Well, I mean, I could submit to playing video games. Is that a submission? I'm like, this is insane. I could submit to watching TV, my favorite Netflix program. I could submit to anything.
Okay,
the problem is if you don't have tight definitions, you're going to fail what you're trying to argue.
And what we're going to do is we're going to tamp down on this next week, guys. Let's just get through this.
Next week, yeah.
And let's
get through Eric's boring presentation.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Sorry for derailing. I'm sorry that I came in at derail.
That's okay.
Come
back. Tune in next week, and I'll make Eric, just a subscriber, and I'll run the show, and we'll deal with that because he censored me, and I'm really angry. I'm just saying.
Get over it, big man.
Seriously,
all right.
Issa, wait till you see the clip. You're gonna love it. Anyway, go ahead.
No, okay. I tell you what, we'll play it after we sign off on the show, and you can tell me.
Okay, all right.
Whether or not, and is Connie still here? Yeah. Okay. You tell me whether or not we should have played that today. All right. So, the night of the pony ride. Look what he has to say. Look what he does. And of course, he's going to a mosque that doesn't exist. He's going to the mosque. We're going to the Al-Aqsa Mosque or the Dome of the Rock. It wasn't built. Muhammad died 632. That was not built until 691. 691. The Dome of the Rock and the Al-Aqsa Mosque wasn't built till 705. So how in the Hades can you go to a mosque that did not exist? And then he goes to Jerusalem, supposedly. And it's not mentioned in the Quran one time. But if a place is the third most important place in your faith system, and it's not mentioned one time in your entire book by name, I'd say you're making it up. I'd say that you're redacting information back onto your narrative. And if I'm wrong, then you need to prove it. Okay, so here's what it says. He says, I weep. Now he's talking about Moses. You know the story. He goes to God. He goes to Allah, and he says, Allah says, hey, you got to pray 50 times a day. Now think about a God, an all omnipotent God, knowing, omniscient God, all knowing, tells you got to pray 50 times a day. And Moses realizes, look, that's all you'll be doing. You can't pray 50 times a day. you wouldn't get anything done in your life. So get it down. So it finally goes back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, and he gets it down to 5. And then Moses says, okay, that's great. But look what also Moses says here. I weep because after me there has been sent a prophet. Who's this prophet? Muhammad, duh. A young man whose followers will enter paradise in greater numbers than my followers. Who are the followers of Moses?
The children of Israel.
Exactly, the Jews. So here you have a hadith that is specifically targeted at condemning the Jews for what? Their unbelief, in Allah.
Well, they're lower number. They're lower number.
Yeah, and again, look at folks how ahistorical this Sahih Bukhari, excuse me, look how ahistorical this hadith is. So even when spewing anti-Semitic claims, they have to lie and they can't get their history right. Okay, again, here's another great example. You can't greet Jews before Muslims must not greet Jews before the Jews greet them, and they should force Jews to the narrowest part of the road. And this is part of the Sharia, and we find it also in, I believe we find this in the Pack of Umar. I might be wrong on that. I'm willing to be wrong on that.
That's in the Pact of no, it's in the Pact of Umar, which is enshrined in Sharia in all 4 schools.
Okay.
The Pact of Umar, even though it is a clear forgery, because no Christian would ever sign such a thing. Okay,
Right.
no organization. Right. I mean, no, you would not do that, especially in medieval time. You'd all be slaughtered before you ever sign anything like that. There is no way. Okay, all right. It's not going to happen because you are only sentencing yourself to your own destruction, and they would know this.
And they
you know
did.
what I mean? No.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah. No, because
Okay.
if you study, well, anyway, go ahead. Yeah.
All right, so here's what it says. Do not greet the Jews and Christians before they greet you, and you meet them on the roads, force them to the narrowest part of it. Now, does anybody realize why they force them to the narrowest part of the road?
Because that's where the shit goes. I'm sorry.
Exactly.
The
well, that's
crap and
exactly
the
right.
manure,
That's
yeah.
exactly right. That is the nastiest part of the road, and get them to walk through it so you don't have to.
In other words, Kenny, get to the back of the bus.
Yeah.
Before I whoop you with my bell.
No, I can't be saying that. You wouldn't say anything like that, would he? No, wait, hold on.
Lady, go sit your behind down in the corner somewhere until we call your name. Lady, go sit your behind down in the corner somewhere until we call your name. Go sit your behind.
Okay, just so we know.
I mean, hear the vitriol in that. You know, I really pity Kenny. You know, he came out of a woman which was a Christian. She died as a Christian. You know, they have no respect for anybody who wants to tell the truth. Thank you.
Yeah, and I don't know if well, I don't even want to bring it up. I don't want to bring it. I'm not going to get into his personal business. We'll let the Holdergaard do that. Which I would have to actually care. And Max Michael looks like a new visitor today. Thank you, sir, for coming to the show. I'm trying to catch up on some of the things that have said in the chat here. Sorry. Okay, let's get back to this. Okay, do not greet the Jews. All right, the final hour will not come until Muslims slaughter Jews, and even the rocks and trees will betray them, the Jews, because they're hiding behind them. And then it's supposed to be, is this the day of judgment, the ultimate victory of Islam? And this is often spoken of in your Friday prayers. And it says here, the last hour would not come until the Muslims will fight against the Jews, and the Muslims will kill them until the Jews would hide themselves behind a stone or a tree. And the stone or a tree would say, Muslim, O servant of Allah, there is a Jew behind me. Come and kill him. Unless it's the Garhad tree, and that's the tree of the Jews. The Garhad tree is not going to give you away. So Jews need to be planting a lot of those in Israel, because that's not going to give it away. That's something to hide behind.
No, hold on. I got to find a clip Kenny is talking about with, what's his name, the black dude, the one that was a Muslim, then became a Christian and became a Muslim again. what's his name? He's a Pell talker. I can't
Oh,
remember.
I know
his
who
name.
you're talking about.
Yeah, I forget his name too.
C.L. Edwards.
C.L. There you go.
Yeah,
C.L.
Edwards. Yeah.
But they're talking about how the Jews are planting all these garab trees. They're making forests of garab trees all around Israel so they could hide behind it. And Kenny's bragging like, oh, but have you seen the garab tree? It's a smaller tree. I could shoot him. You don't know. No, he is really into it, dude. I got to find that clip. Yeah. Oh God. No, seriously. They are really discussing this because I brought it up to them.
So with Islam, this is premeditated murder.
Pretty much, yeah.
Yeah.
Do they actually do they actually believe that? I mean,
yeah, dude. They believe.
Come on, no. Okay, they were seriously saying that the Jews are purposely planting forests of garhad trees.
Bush. It's basically a bush, so they could hide behind it.
They're seriously having this discussion.
Yes. Not only, well, dude, think about this. We were talking to people that actually believe that Neil Armstrong went to the moon, and when he stepped off of the moon and lander, and he said this is one giant step for mankind, or whatever. There's some controversy in that because there was a brief interruption in the communication, but they've now sorted it out. He actually did say what he was supposed to say, but that's beside the point. If you're a NASA buff, you would know what I'm talking about. But they actually believe that this interruption was caused because the moon was in perfect alignment with Mecca at that time, and he heard the call to prayer coming through his headset, and that was the interruption. And then Neil Armstrong also discovered the crack in the moon, but he didn't know it was the crack in the moon. Okay, blah, blah, blah. But anyway, when Neil Armstrong got back to Earth, and he was going on a world tour, okay, he goes to Egypt, okay, and he hears the Adhan, the call to prayer. He said, that is what I heard on the moon. Alhamdulillah, I'm going to convert to Islam. They actually believed this. They believed this so strongly that even before 9/11, Neil Armstrong had to issue a statement saying, I was born a Methodist, and God willing, I will die a Methodist. I am not converting to Islam. Not only that, but NASA's own official website had to post an article in their forum, in their chat saying, no, the moon did not split in half. There's no crack in the moon. What you are seeing is natural fissures due to basic plate tectonics and lunar and earthly forces, gravitational forces. There is no crack in the frickin' moon. And if the moon did split, that would be devastating to Earth. Okay? You're saying, sorry, didn't happen.
I'm sorry, Red, I don't mean to interrupt, but I think it's such a weird thing. It's like the problem with literalism is you're trying to take this spiritual story and make it into a literal thing. And I'm like, if you want to make it literal, then that's the price you have to pay. That's the toll you have to pay. See, the thing is, and it hurts. Like, for example, if I take a mystical Muslim position, people say, oh, you're a heretic, you're weak, whatever, fine. Okay, you could take that position. But in reality, I'm going to be far more consistent than the Salafi or the Wahhabi, because the Salafi and the Wahhabi have a huge amount of problems. The Salafi and Wahhabi have to say that the Torah and the New Testament are corrupted. They have to say that. Now, because they're saying it doesn't align with their belief. If they say that, it basically it invalidates the entire theology that they hold. It invalidates everything. If you say the Torah is corrupted because you see some problematic things like, oh, Noah was drunk. Okay, well, actually, the Quran, people did drink at first, and then people stopped drinking. So it kind of makes sense that people were drinking in the past. So that's a ridiculous argument that Muslims say because they're trying to make their own history that never even existed. But on this particular point, they will say, well, the Torah is corrupted. And I'm like, okay, well, if the Torah is corrupted, then you're saying God allowed for the Torah to be corrupted. You're going to fail. You're basically saying the most blasphemous thing that you can possibly say. That's heresy. So I'm just like, I think the Salafi and Wahhabi fail on a lot of things. They also say that God has hands. They'll challenge the Trinity. They'll say, oh, Father, Son, Holy Spirit, that's a big, big problem. But the Quran says, oh, there's a chair, there's a kursi, or there's a yad. A yad is a hand, right? they'll say it's literally true. God has a literal hand. God has a literal chair, right?
He has
They say
two
this
right
position.
hands. Yeah, he has two
They
right
say
hands.
that there's so then they have a problem with the Trinity. I'm like, okay, how do you do that? How does that work?
No, okay. Well, let me just, because I've studied under Salafis. These are the people I experience, and I would disagree with you on this. I think the Salafis are actually following the true interpretation of Islam, and I'm going to tell you right now, because the Salafis are consistent regarding your thing on the Torah.
That's inconsistent. It destroys everything. It's a collapse.
No, hold on. Let me respond to you. What they will say is that the Torah is not corrupted. The true Torah and the true Injil are not corrupted. Allah has protected it. Allah has protected it
That's
in
nonsense.
Jannah. I know it's nonsense, but this is what they say.
It's a nonsense position to try to protect their literalism. And what they're doing is they're trying to make a spiritual thing to explain away literalistic things. It's inconsistent.
I agree with you.
No, I'm
on
sorry.
this,
I'm going to hold to that. If they fail, they failed on that.
Okay, but this is what they would argue, that no, the Torah and the Injil are actually protected by Allah in Jannah. He took it away from man to protect it. That's what he means by it's protected.
And where is that from? That's completely constructed and made up. It's nonsense. It's a nonsense statement.
Well, we all know that. We all know that.
You said that the Salafi and the Wahhabi is the most consistent. That just proves that they're not. That's a nonsense thing that they just made up.
Can we get back to the topic? Can we get back to the topic?
Let me just one thing. Let me just finish on this. Okay, your other point. Okay, you know what? Yeah, let's continue. No, we need to have this discussion. What is it, dude? I'm sorry. I think the Salafi are the most consistent in their inconsistency. Is what I meant to say. But let's continue on.
All right, let's go ahead and let's see here. All right, so this tree here, this Gahar tree, it was brought up. Where did it go? I was going to put it back up here. There we go. Yeah, we got to get a couple of these. So if you want to put a perimeter up around your house of these, it might be a good idea. And I'm going to send Netanyahu a letter this evening suggesting that wall that they had built along the West Bank, that they need to take that down and plant these trees here. That'd be a more protective means. Anyway, okay. Muslims will spare by hellfire by Allah on the day of judgment, or resurrection, I'm sorry, by making Jews take their place. It's right here in Sahih Muslim.
Wow.
4 different places. And when it will be the day of resurrection, Allah will deliver to every Muslim, a Jew or a Christian, and say, this is your rescue from hellfire. And my understanding is one of these verses is, what do they call that? Something Qudsi. Hadith Qudsi, where it's as the same level. The Hadith is just as sound as the level of the Quran, a passage from the Quran. Hadith Qudsi, that sounds about right. But anyway, so when they talk about laying the sins, your sins as a Muslim, they'll put them on the backs of Christians and let the Christians and the Jews carry your sins into the afterlife and be punished for your sins. Sounds a little anti-Semitic to me.
Yeah, but they also say nobody can pay for another's sins. I'm like, okay, that's a contradiction right there.
No, quit making sense. Of course.
I'm only a half-brained female, you know.
We got that. Not a half-brain. I thought you said your name is not half-brained. Not a half. Anyway.
Well, according to Islam, I'm only half-brained, you know.
Well, we got you and Connie. We got you and Connie here, so you guys join together, and we'll get out. And you know, and if I was, never mind. I'm not. Let me get this done. All right, Jews who always scheme in order to murder the emissaries and prophets, and who oppose God and His positive and negative commandments, and who corrupt His scripture, which He revealed in His books. This is Tabari writing, you know, over 200 years after, almost 300 years after the death of Muhammad. So we got to take that at
what books? What books?
Well, it's the Injil has been corrupted.
So it's not in Jannah right now.
No.
So they're not in Jannah.
No, it's
Jeez.
the Injil has been corrupted. It was opposed God and His positive, and we're corrupt His scripture. Yeah, the Injil. You know, the Injil that everybody mentioned dozens of times between the 1st and 7th centuries, right? You know that. I'm being very facetious, of course, because it's never mentioned. It's nobody ever mentions. Nobody ever heard of it. But yet, right there, we got to believe it. It's ridiculous. Okay, so when we look at Sayyid Qutb is like the Karl Marx was the prophet for communism. Here's Sayyid Qutb. I think Sayyid Qutb, they hung him, or the Egyptian government, because he was a Muslim Brotherhood guy. He says the Jews have been behind every calamity that has befallen the Muslim communities. They give active support to every attempt to crush the modern Islamic revival. And so here you blame the Jews. And this is the guy that you never guess who I'm going to post here. This is the guy that said that if it had not been for the apostasy clause, Islam would have died. And of course, you guessed it, Yusuf al-Qaradawi. Throughout history, Allah has imposed upon the Jews people who would punish them for their corruption. The last punishment was carried out by Hitler. So the punishment that the Holocaust was the punishment to the Jews. It wasn't the actions by some psychopath. No. It's just their punishment. And here's what he says. If they had gotten rid of the apostasy punishment, Islam wouldn't exist today. Yeah, he says this. Okay, and of course, al-Husseini here, Yasser Arafat's mentor, the Grand Mufti of Jerusalem, his equivalent, I guess, says this, the Grand Mosque in Mecca. Read history and you'll understand that the Jews of yesterday are the evil fathers of the Jews today, who are evil offspring, infidels. Okay, so that's anti-Semitic, pure prophet murderers, prophecy deniers, the scum of the human race. Allah cursed and turned them into apes. Yes, this is a quote from him. Kill the Jews wherever you find them. This pleases God, history, and the religion. This saves your honor. Yeah, this is Yasser Arafat, the PLO guy. That guy, his mentor. Oh, and here's a picture of him, an action photo of him with Heinrich Himmler. Way to go, al-Husseini. And with Adolf himself. Gee whiz, I wonder where Adolf got his idea to eradicate the Jews from. This is from Palestinian TV. We, the Palestinian nation, our fate from Allah is to be the vanguard in the war against who? Well, against the Jews, of course. Until the resurrection of the dead. The resurrection of the dead will not arrive until you fight the Jews and kill them. Sounds pretty peaceful to me. This is just popularizing evil, is all this is.
And he said, go back there. Yeah, he says, as the Prophet Muhammad said. So then when we say it, we're Islamophobes.
Yes.
But when he says it, it's cool. When we expose the evil of it, it's not cool. But when he said it, it's cool.
Is that not Islamophobia at its finest?
Yes, it is.
There you go.
Connie, that's Islamophobia at its finest.
Yep.
My dear brother, so continue the struggle between the Muslims and who? The Jews from the past, both near and far, and present, and in the future. In this matter of the word of Allah will be fulfilled. There will not be anyone or be found anyone more hostile to the believers than the Jews and the idolaters. Nothing to see here, guys. You just keep on moving along. People quoting the Quran encouraging others to kill Jews. Again, it's all been about fighting the Jews and killing them. It's all about insulting them. The battle of the Jews will surely come. The decisive Muslim victory is coming without a doubt, and the Prophet spoke about it in more than one hadith. Who spoke about it? Muhammad spoke about what? The battle with the Jews coming, okay. And the day of resurrection will not come with the victory and for the believers over the descendants of the monkeys and pigs, who are who? It's the Jews, of course. Little anti-Semitic propaganda. Whoops, what happened here?
That was my fault.
Did you stop? I'm taking.
No, I clicked on. I was trying to click on unmute me, and I accidentally clicked on your thing. But no, I just want to say, the monkeys and pigs things, that sounds a little bit racist. I'm just saying. When you're comparing people to monkeys and pigs, that actually sounds racist.
Well, only if you want to take your belt off. And
Yeah, well, okay.
All right. Let's see here. Lies and deceit are not foreign to Jews. Oh, really? Allah did what? Changed their shape and made them into monkeys and pigs. Here's an Egyptian newspaper printing that. And again, who believes this garbage? Oh, an imam and his lapdog, maybe. Here's a good one. Blessed is he who fights jihad in the name of Allah. Blessed is he who goes on raids in the name of Allah. Blessed is he who dons a vest of explosives on himself or his children.
Wow.
That is sick. And goes into the depth of the Jews and says, Allah Akbar, blessed be Allah, like the collapse of a building upon the heads of the Jews in their sinful dance hall. And look what he got. I ask the Allah that we see the Knesset collapsing on the heads of the Jews. Now, it's one thing to say this type of crap, but it's another thing to actually go out and do it. And to say that they're not acting out on the anti-Semitic literature that we can find within their Hadith, that we can find within their Sira, what we can find within the Quran, is absolutely moronic. And the Jews, they see it.
Sending their children? Sending their children to die? No.
Right, yeah,
that's
right
sick.
Yeah. No, of course it's sick. Okay, here's one. This is the deception of, or the depiction of.
Wait, I'm sorry. Hold on. Can you go back to that previous slide? This is a direct message for Kenny, because Kenny, in his thing with Isa, he said that but they fire a rocket or two. They're literally fighting oppressors, occupiers of their land, and oppressors, and they got bricks and rocks and maybe an occasional rocket, and they're fighting with that thing. It is totally justified under Allah what they're doing, because fight the oppressor wherever you find them and kill them when they killed you and drive them out for once they drive you out. Well, Kenny, here's a direct message to you. Okay, actually not to you, but to the Native American people that used to live in Houston, the Karankawakas, Akakosias. If you are a Native American from those tribes and you live in the Houston area, please go to Kenny's house and fire rockets at him, fire stone.
Don't. No, seriously, Rad, can you imagine what type of video they're going to, imagine what type of video they're going to make now.
But they have the right, according to Kenny.
They're sanctioning. Okay, I'm going to get called in the FBI again.
But they have a right, according to Kenny.
Yeah, well,
because Kenny is living on occupied land. That is Native American land. You are living, Kenny, on occupied land.
Stop, Brett. Listen. Okay.
Hmm?
This is satire, folks. He's being
it is satire.
Making a point, because I just want to make sure that because I can see what Marshall's doing already. Did you hear that? They're sanctioning violence against. No, we're not. We're just making a point because we're using his criteria of firing rockets by Hamas into Israel, saying it's justified to regain their land, and all Rad's doing is just stirring the table on him and saying, look, same thing could be applied to you. Land is this stop.
Do you mind if I say something too? I wanted to compliment what you were saying, Rad. This is the conversation I was having, and I'm like, look, if you want to bring up Palestinian justice, I'm like, fine, okay. I believe in human justice. I believe in humanism. Let's take care of Palestinians. Palestinians deserve to have rights. No one is denying that. But to say, hey, Palestinians are it's a completely, one-sided situation, that's problematic, and it's difficult because you're not really being honest. When I went to Israel proper, like in Jerusalem, no, I was in Tel Aviv. When I was in Tel Aviv, I went to like a training with an IDF soldier, and he said there's this technique that you have to defend against called Allah Akbar. That's what they called it, which is really Allahu Akbar. That's the point. Because there are people who are assassins who scream Allahu Akbar and stab people. He wouldn't get that from somewhere if no one was doing it. Someone is doing that. So you need to be accountable. You cannot tell me, oh, this thing is so bad. This is so terrible. I'm going to go this way. It's so terrible. It's so bad. And you are, it's so terrible and horrible. but you're not being sincere and honest when you're talking about the other side of this situation. What are the Israeli grievances? You can't have conflict resolution if we don't discuss Israeli grievances in this situation. There's a reason why there's Iron Dome. There are lots of missiles that are coming over. If there wasn't, there wouldn't be an Iron Dome that exists. That's what the Iron Dome does. The Iron Dome is a defense system that shoots the missiles out of the sky. There are a lot of missiles that are coming. That's why Iron Dome works. There are Qassam missiles, just like that we've discussed last time. But I think we need to, of course, support Palestinians, support all the Palestinians, which are diverse. There's a lot of Druze people there, a lot of Bedouins. They're not all Muslims. But the thing is, that's the thing, that there's this conflation that all the Palestinians are Muslims. Look, we have Hussein. He is a Christian Palestinian. So I think that's an important thing to put on the table, too.
Well, listen, Issa. Just to let you know, how dare the Israelis have the Iron Dome system? Don't they know that they are being unfair to the Palestinians, that they are oppressing? No, seriously. Yes, I am being sarcastic, and I don't even know if these tribes even exist. I just looked it up in Google. But no, seriously, Kenny, by your logic and reason, in the courtroom of Kenny, logic and reason, okay, that yes, these Native American tribes, they can fire rockets at your house. They can fight you where you oppress them. They can drive you out from whence you drove them out. You, Kenny, are the oppressor in Houston, Texas, of Native American tribes. You are the occupier. You are living on occupied, stolen land because they were there before the white man came across the sea. But no, do you see the thing? And that's all I wanted to say. But go ahead, Marshall, make your video.
I want to say one thing too about this. About indigenous peoples, Native Americans, why don't we help the Native Americans? We can help Palestinians. That's the better position. Instead of taking this position of like, oh my gosh, let's cancel everything and just try to reset it. You can't do that. That's not how things work. But we can do restoration. Can we help indigenous peoples? Of course we can. Can we help Palestinians? Of course we can. Are there going to be obstacles? Are there going to be things that are going to stop us from doing it? Yes, there are. But the thing is, that's the position. You should be solutions-oriented. This is not solutions-oriented, saying, hey, let's just, you know what, let's cancel everything. And also, Jews lived in the land, too. So, like, we're pretending that never even occurred. I'm sorry, Jews were a part of the community of this area as well. But I think you have to, if you want to be solutions-oriented, you can't just say, well, they're taking over land. I think that's unfair. And I watched a Hamas video. I don't know if you all have seen it. But it's an interesting argument because the Hamas video is saying it's about Hamas, what's that called? Mickey Mouse. They call him Farfour. So they talk about this key that don't give the key to the Israeli. Do not give the key to the Israeli, right? And I said, okay, this is an interesting question. Then the Farfour gets interviewed by, gets interviewed by this Israeli soldier played by a Palestinian actor. And the Israeli soldier is like, so, what had happened with this situation? I heard you had this land. We will buy the land for bags of money. For bags of money, we will buy the land. And I said, that's interesting to say about your interlocutor, that your interlocutor is willing to give countless resources to you to buy this land. So I'm like, this is an interesting question. The Palestine-Israel situation is a very unique situation. And it's fascinating that people from all other places want to say that the Israelis are just these awful, horrible people, but they don't know their situation. They don't know their condition. And then they try to say, well, it's the same thing as what's going on with us. And I'm like, that's unjust and unfair and inequitable. So there you go.
All right. Well, okay. What is red?
Sorry if I derailed anything. I'm sorry.
That's right. We're gonna go. We're gonna finish this up. We're finishing this up right now. Okay. This one here. This is on Palestinian TV with this book and called them once. Okay, so they're admitting that Allah calls the Jews monkeys, swine, and donkeys. I'd call that anti-Semitism. And the question is, how do you make peace with people like that? Let's see here. Don't leave the Palestinians alone with the Jews. You fight with them. Again, more and more. Jerusalem was the symbol of the Muslims to the war of jihad forever. They don't have a legitimate claim to Jerusalem. I'm not sure if people know that. There is no legitimate historical claim that Muslims have to Jerusalem. Let me say it one more time. There is not a historical claim that Muslims have to that land. That land is supposed to belong to the Jews. That's what was there first. If we want to, if we want to start talking about history and who the land is supposed to belong to, well, it's the Jews. Let's see here. Yeah, exactly. There's as much evidence for this as there is for the existence of 7th century Mecca. Let's see here. This is Palestine. I'm beating the horse to death. Palestinian TV. Mein Kampf we talked about, and here's another writing that we get: the Protocol of the Elders of Zion. Of course, this Hitler used this to help justify the Holocaust. And again, its popularity led to a popular miniseries that broadcasted in all kinds of Islamic countries. Let's look at textbooks here. As with homophobic writing, anti-Semitic literature in the Muslim world is not confined to bookstores. These are excerpts taken from textbooks for Islamic studies. Here's what it says. Whose young people, okay, they are the people of the Sabbath, whose young people God turned into apes, and whose old, this is a textbook, people, and turned into swine to punish them. How do they know this? Well, of course, Ibn Abbas says this. They are apes. The apes are Jews.
Again, talking about apes and monkeys and swine definitely sounds racist to me. I'm just saying.
People of the Sabbath were punished by being turned into apes and swine. Some of them made worship the devil. This is a textbook, folks. In Saudi Arabia. Saudi Arabia is 100% Muslim. So teaching this, I mean,
what does it say there? They worship the devil. I mean,
yeah.
what word is it saying that?
Right here, to worship the devil. Some of them were made to worship the devil. It's taken right out of a Saudi textbook. Wow. Yep. There you go. Let's see here. Some numbers. Anti-Semitic incidents around the world doubled in 2009. In Europe, Britain, France, the number of incidences went from 374. Let's see here. Went up to 374 in 2009 compared to 112 the year before. France saw 195 compared to 50 the previous year. 102% increase in anti-Jewish violence worldwide. In addition, there are many more. This is all on Wiki Islam, folks. If you go over there and bring this up, I have the link at the beginning of the show. If you want a copy of this, you email me. Let's see here. A significant part of the increase took place in the UK, where violence jumped from 112 incidences to 374, 50 to 195, and 13 to 138 in Canada, of all places. Here we have the most violent attacks in Western Europe came from Arab or Muslim heritage. During the month of January 2009, 54% of the violent incidences came from Asians and Arabs, which Asians of Pakistani descent, Arabs, of course. And they only make up 4% of the population, but yet they're committing 54% of the violent crime. To a question asking respondents to give their views and the members of various religions along the spectrum from very favorable to very unfavorable. 60% of Turks, 74% Pakistanis, 70% Indian, and so on and so forth. 99% of Lebanese, 100% of Jordans checked either somewhat unfavorable or very unfavorable for Jews. 100% somewhat unfavorable or very unfavorable. Pew asked respondents to give their opinion to Christians, Muslims, and Jews, and found anti-Jewish sentiment to be overwhelming in the Muslim countries surveyed. It reached 98% in Jordan, 97% in Egypt. The anti-Semite incidents in Amsterdam doubled compared to the year before. Now, this is in the Netherlands, folks. And here you have experiences taught him. This is the professor, the school teacher, that boys taunting him are almost always of Moroccan descent. And the reasoning goes something like this. Israelis are Jews, Palestinians are Arabs. And Arabs, let's see, the rabbi for the, okay, so the Arabs, so we Moroccan Arabs in the Netherlands are going to take on Dutch Jews. In Belgium, the professor who conducted the survey that half can be described as anti-Semitic. These are students. half of the students are anti-Semitic. And Belgium is not known to be very friendly to Jews. And then, of course, there's the BDS movement that I've talked about several times. Here's the founder of it: no Palestinian will ever accept a Jewish state. So how do you make peace with that? What?
You know what's funny about this BDS movement? They will not boycott all the medical, all the, you know what I'm saying? They're not gonna boycott the heart techniques of repairing an artery. They're not going to boycott the diabetes treatments. They're not going to all these medical treatments that these Israeli Jewish doctors have come up with. They're not going to boycott, going to get a cancer scan, a PET scan or an MR. You know what I mean? They're not going to boycott that thing. Of course not. Okay? Do you see what I'm saying? I mean, it is total hypocrisy, this whole BDS movement. Okay? And it is total stupidity, and it's a ways for these terrorists, let's just call them terrorists, to raise money to support further terrorism. It is completely, BS.
Yeah,
but go ahead.
It is, and this is justification to destroy Israel. And the guy that founded the BDS movement, right here: no Palestinian will ever accept a Jewish state in Palestine. Period. So, how in the Hades do you ever negotiate with them or to try to strike some type of deal with them? You can't. These people hate them to death. And I have this slide here. Like I said, if you want this slideshow, this compares the Nazi boycotts in 1938, 1935 to 1939 to the BDS movement. It's almost the same thing. So these people that are acting out in the BDS movement are essentially acting like a bunch of Nazis. This is exactly what the Nazis did to the Jews. So the conclusion: Muhammad was an anti-Semite. There, I said it. He was an anti-Semite, as evidented in his biography, as evidented in the Hadith literature, and as evidented in the Quran. I know. Muhammad didn't write the Quran. Yes, he did. But let's pretend that he didn't. Okay, let's just pretend. Okay, let's live in fantasy world here. It's in the Sira, and it's in the Hadith, and it's in the Sira and the Hadith with much more frequency than it is in the Quran. And when we look at the Islamic text being rich in anti-Semitic language, look what they do. The Muslims across the globe act out upon it. All right, that endeth the slideshow. Who has anything that they want to add to this? Anything?
I just want to say really quickly, okay, to Kenny, all these clips we're playing because we're going to play more of the sound clips in every show. Well, we might get bored with it, let's face it. But for a while, we're going to highlight you. We're going to have the Kenny's clip section, okay, of the show. Okay, all this. Do you know why? It's because you got to thank your buddy Marshall. Because if Marshall wouldn't have made that ultimatum to take down all videos related to you and him and your considered Islam, no, if he wouldn't have done that, we would not be doing this. But we should have done this a while ago because it really is funny. I don't know, but do you understand this? We should have done this a while ago because it is funny stuff. Okay, but we didn't because we didn't care. But now we do care. So Kenny, I know Kenny Bomer is only responsible for Kenny Bomer, and Marshall's a grown man. He can do whatever he wants. No, you can smack him upside the head, just like you could take your belt off and whoop him. Okay.
Or you could reduce him from admin status on your StreamYard and take away his ability to.
No, yeah, I'm taking away yours, but no, that's all I wanted to say on that.
All right,
because but we got to play for. Go ahead. Yeah.
All right, we're gonna do a cold close. Thank you everybody for coming today. I know it's been kind of a long show. We usually cut it off at an hour and a half, but we did not have church tonight.
One more quick little thing. This is messages for Kenny. I made a comment on one of your posts a couple years ago, and apparently I had to go to my other account just to see what you said. You sent me to Blockistan when you didn't give me a chance to read it. So
he didn't send you to Blockistan, really? Not Kenny Bomer. he's willing to engage with everybody to do dawah. Okay, anybody else got anything for the cause before we call it a day?
I have something to say, if that's okay.
Don't go away, because I wanted to show you that clip that we banned Radical from playing. Go ahead, Isa.
I have something to say. Peace and blessings, y'all. I think Kenny, I know it's an unpopular position here. I think he is a good person. I think there's some difficulties that need to be worked out, but I think he's a good person, and I think he's trying to be sincere. And, you know, I see him in a very friendly way. We don't have this antagonism, but the one thing that I'm not happy about over on that side, and I've been telling them, and every time I go on the show, is the doxing. Even if you can disagree with someone and say, I don't agree on any of these topics. Do not put people's personal information out there. Do not put their jobs on the line. This is the marketplace of ideas. We have the right to discuss. You don't have the right to destroy other people's lives. That is disgusting and gross. And when someone does that, they've crossed the line. And I keep trying to share this, but it's falling on deaf ears. But I'm going to still keep preaching that.
Well,
message.
I'm just going to tell you how he justifies it, Isa. I'm just going to. This is how he justifies it, because I've explained this to him myself. Is that he justifies it because he is. What did he say? What is a soldier called? Mushahad. He says he's the Mushahad of Allah. He's a soldier of Allah.
Mujahideen. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mujahid. Yeah.
Mujahid. Yeah. That's his Spanish, not his Spanish name.
That's his gangster rapper name. No,
that's
seriously.
His Muslim, that's his Muslim name.
That's actually in the police report when he was arrested under aliases. Mujahid.
Okay, all right. And this is what he says. He's defending Muslim children against this guy. That's how he justifies it. He says, we're trying to get him fired because I'm a danger. I'm a danger to Muslim children. Now, in Charlie Doyle's world, that is true, because you can just invent crimes on people and arrest them for it and charge them for it and then scuff them up in the back of your squad car. But in the real world, you have to have what we call evidence for it. And the fact is that there is zero evidence for this, that I'm a danger to any child that I teach, whether they're a Muslim, they're a Buddhist, they're a Jew, black, white, Hispanic, whatever they are, homosexual, trans, whatever. There is no evidence that I'm a danger to any of these kids. And the opposite is true. And this is what really gets me, is that these guys will invent things such as this and point fingers against somebody who spent a lifetime establishing themselves as a professional in whatever profession I've engaged in, when they themselves have acted like scumbags most of their lives. And they think that they can go ahead and try to ruin the life of a man who has established himself as not only a pillar in the army, in his community and church, and also as a teacher. So he can go ahead and kiss it. And I know you think he's a not likable guy, but what he is doing is absolutely reprehensible, along with that lapdog of his. I'm sorry for being so forward about it, but those are my feelings. I'm sorry, Darcy, go ahead.
Well, it's dangerous. You're trying to get them to read. Oh my gosh, that's so dangerous.
Yeah. Well, what does Kenny like to say? Be a reader, not a repeater. So he just condemned the early Muslims because the early Muslims were just repeaters, not readers. He wants them to be better than Muhammad because Muhammad was just a repeater. I mean, it makes no sense. But no, Isa, I love your heart on this. But I got to tell you, Kenny always likes to say, I'll have decent Christians, decent people on my show. But what he showed in that video, the only decent person that was in that video was that black man that just stood up. Okay, he was a decent person. Kenny wasn't decent.
I know.
It's not.
He had a meltdown. Kenny had a meltdown.
Yes,
and I think
he always has meltdowns.
I think he should be accountable. He should be accountable. And I think if I were Kenny, I would make a video
and say,
I did this thing that was not correct, and I'm really sorry to my audience about this. I'm a person who supports for racial justice. I had a bad day. I was hungry. I was hangry. I made a bad mistake. And just be accountable for it. And I think it would go over really well. but you have to be accountable and say, I did this thing. And it's good. And that's it. That's what makes us better people, is to call ourselves out, to become better people.
We can talk offline. Anyway, let's end the show.
Sure.
All right.
Thank you.
Everybody in the chat, we had all kinds of people in the chat today. Thank you for coming. I appreciate you. Love you guys. And I love the comments and reading and the contributions that you guys have. The panel, of course, you know, I love you guys. And I appreciate you being here every Sunday. And we'll see you next Sunday. And we're going to slice and dice Bomer Wood Part 3 next Sunday. And we are looking forward to it. God bless you all. And we will see you then. Where's my cold clothes? Redwood, did you move this thing here? Where is
See, there's a way to
you put way too many things.
Yeah.
Student and specialist, that the standard narrative has holes. That's what I'm
that the Muslims were rioting against one another. And as much as we don't want to face the fact, the Muslims were lying sometimes. They were fabricating, they were embellishing, and that might be hard to accept, but that is a reality.